Chapter 622. Master, don't talk nonsense. Huang Yu blushed and said loudly, how can I like him? I hate him the most. If not for the fact that he is still useful, I would have killed him long ago. Is that so? Hai Xian said with a smile and then lovingly stroked Huang Yu's head and said no more. Alright, let's go back. Little Tian, let's go meet your old friend. Hai Xian said, and the three of them entered the valley. The valley was densely packed with houses, all of which were built with wood. Even though the valley was very large, it was still very crowded for millions of people to live in. At a glance, within a radius of a few hundred li, there were houses everywhere. Even so, 1/3 of the people were still unable to live in houses and could only live in simple animal skin tents. Moreover, Hai Xian said that the sacred valley had saved their lives, so they must not destroy the living beings in the sacred valley. Therefore, the resistance army did not cut down a large number of trees and did not destroy a large number of rivers. They tried their best to set up their houses and tents in the original open space. Yang Dingtian walked leisurely. Although the Holy Valley was in a precarious situation right now, and it was absolutely crowded, it was absolutely orderly, and even seemed very peaceful. There was no fighting, no bullying of the weak. Because the best houses were for the elderly and children to live in. The worst houses were for the strong people to live in. As the armed forces of the resistance army, hundreds of thousands of them lived in the worst tents. Including Huang Yu and Hai Xian, they all lived in tents. As Hai Xian's disciple, Huang Yu had to squeeze in a tent with Xiang Xiang and 4 or 5 other Foxman race girls. Of course, when it came to food, the situation was slightly reversed. Because the resistance army had to fight and a lot of construction, a larger proportion of food was distributed to the resistance army warriors. As for the children, they were still growing and would be given more detailed tasks. The elderly would be given the least amount of food. Yang Dingtian was very impressed with such a method. It was humane and not hypocritical. As Yang Dingtian walked over, he saw that the houses and the roadside were mostly filled with old people and children. All the elders of the half-human clan were doing what they could. They were either repairing armors or polishing weapons. Even many children had to help from the side. After Yang Dingtian walked past, almost all of the half-human elders stood up and bowed towards Yang Dingtian. They spoke in the half-human language that Yang Dingtian didn't understand, but he could feel their gratitude and emotions. Saintess Hai Xian did not have it easy. He was actually able to govern a place of despair like a pure land. Although this place could be destroyed at any moment and there wasn't enough food, the people here were very peaceful. Soon, Yang Dingtian saw an old friend. Day by Day Bella, one of the leaders of the resistance, the chief of the Foxman race. Of course, he had to see her because he, Day by Day Bella, and 4 other Foxman race warriors would be living in the same tent. Day by Day Bella couldn't help but gasp when she saw her old friend again. Then, Day by Day Bella's eyes were about to burst when she talked about the tragedy in the Dongli grassland in the past year. This was because countless Foxman race had been captured and turned into slaves to build that terrifying defensive line. Day by Day Bella's eyes were filled with endless admiration when she talked about Saintess Hai Xian. It was as if no words could express her admiration and love for the Saintess. Mr. Chief, what do you think about the upcoming battle? Yang Dingtian asked. We have no hope of winning. Day by Day Bella said directly, I'm not the only one who knows this. The Saintess also knows this. Even everyone in the Holy Valley knows this. The Naga Empire is 10 times, no, 100 times stronger than us. Yang Dingtian was stunned. Even the people in the Holy Valley knew this. Then why didn't they feel any despair? Mr. Yang Dingtian, we half-human race are different from you. We live in the most dangerous environment at all times, so we don't fear death, but we do fear a worthless death. Day by Day Bella said, it's enough to live peacefully and happily in the Holy Valley for more than half a year. It's more than enough to die under the Saintess light. That's why we know the outcome of destruction, but we don't despair. When the time comes, we'll meet our deaths calmly. Then, day by day Bella poured a cup of green tree sap and handed it to young Dingtian. I'm sorry, the outside has been completely sealed. Our hunting team has almost no harvest, so the Holy Valley will soon run out of food. I also don't have any wine to entertain you. Although this tree sap is unpleasant to drink, it still has the taste of alcohol. Come, cheers. Yang Dingtian raised his cup and drank day by day Bella's cup. It was indeed unpleasant to drink, fishy and bitter, but with a little bit of natural alcohol. He didn't expect the Holy Valley to be so difficult that there wasn't even any food. Day by day Bella, as the leader of the Foxman race and the leader of the resistance army, she didn't have any food left, let alone the others. Mr. Yang Dingtian, I have a request. Day by day Bella suddenly said. Please speak. Yang Dingtian said. When the day of the final battle comes, all the resistance army will enter the battlefield, and everyone in the Holy Valley will also enter the battlefield. All half-human race above the age of 13, no matter if they are women or old, will pick up their weapons and fight the Naga Empire, then die calmly. Then, I'll take all the children in the Holy Valley back to the human continent. Hai Xian smiled and said, Thank you, child, but it's too late. The day after tomorrow, or the day after that, the Snake People Empire will launch a general attack. Yang Dingtian, this is the easternmost part of the Dongli grassland, and the straight-line distance from the West Continent is less than 10,000 miles. It'll take at least 1 day and 1 night to make a round trip. Hai Xian shook her head and said, No. Behind the Holy Valley is indeed a vast sea. From what I remember, the Holy Valley is more than 10,000 miles southeast of the sea, and you'll reach the West Continent. But in fact, it's an endless sea of nothingness. Even if you fly southeast, you'll never reach the end. How can that be? Yang Dingtian said in shock. Geographically, the West Continent is clearly about 10,000 miles southeast of us. I'm also very curious as to why this is. Hai Xian said, I once flew for 10 days and 10 nights, and flew for more than 10,000 miles, but it was still a vast sea. I couldn't see the North Continent, the Northwest Continent, and so on. Yang Dingtian was completely shocked. How could this be? Geographically, it didn't make sense. Little Tian, this world is different from what you think. It has an end, and the end of this world is the endless sea of nothingness. Hai Xian said, We chose the Holy Valley. Although we won't be attacked from behind, it will also cut off our escape route. So, if you want to return to the West Continent, you must first go south, then east, nearly 20,000 miles, and break through the defenses of the Serpent Men Empire. By then, the final battle will have already begun. Hai Xian said, and I can clearly feel that Queen Poisa will never let you return to the West Continent. You can't avoid being locked on by more than 10 great grandmasters. I know you have a stealth mystic skill, but your mystic chi will be exhausted in just a few miles. At this time, no one in the Holy Valley can leave the blockade of the Serpent Men Empire. But I can't just sit and wait for death. Yang Dingtian said. Don't worry, I won't sit and wait for death. Hai Xian said with a faint smile, then stretched out her jade hand and gently stroked Yang Dingtian's face. Suddenly, Yang Dingtian felt an aura of the ocean and paradise. That fragrance, softness, and tranquility calmed his mind in an instant. At this time, a stooped old man slowly walked in, bowed to Saintess Hai Xian and said, Master, everything is ready. Got it. Hai Xian said, Come and meet your son-in-law. Old slave Ah Wu greets the son-in-law. The old man walked in and bowed deeply to Yang Dingtian. Yang Dingtian had never seen such an old man. He was stooped and seemed to be less than 1.3 meters tall. His whole face was wrinkled like tree bark, and he seemed to be only skin and bones. A gust of wind could blow him away. Greetings, elder. Yang Dingtian bowed to him. This is my most loyal servant. I saved his life, and he is also a human. Of course, he is the other martial grandmaster among us. Hai Xan said. Yang Dingtian was surprised. This stooped old man in front of him was also a martial grandmaster. Well, you can leave. I have a few words with little Tian. Hai Xan said. The old slave bowed and then left. Hai Xan looked at Yang Dingtian. Little Tian, the thing I am most worried about now is my 2 daughters. Shuang, how are you now? Yang Dingtian's heart trembled, and he said, Mother-in-law, she is very good. Then I am relieved. Hai Xan said, soon, the Serpent Men Empire should be in a temporary chaos. That is your only chance to escape. Promise me that you will take Fengwu with you, okay? Immediately after, Hai Xan's beautiful face trembled slightly, and she said, everyone says that I am the saintess, but I can't win against my own selfishness. I can die by myself, but I am not willing to let my daughter die with me. She is still so young. She has a child that she doesn't know about. Saintess Hai Xan seemed to be making arrangements after her death. What was she going to do? Was she going to sacrifice herself to temporarily injure Queen Poisa and create an opportunity for Yang Dingtian to escape? After taking a deep breath, Hai Xan said, tonight, you will marry Huang Yu. I have already decided on this matter, and this is your responsibility as a husband. But Huang Yu, she. Yang Dingtian said. She has already agreed. Hai Xan said, more than 2 hours later, the wedding of Yang Dingtian and Huang Yu was held immediately. Not many people attended, and only a few leaders of the resistance army attended. There was no wine or meat at the wedding, only dozens of cups of tree sap. Then, under the auspices of Day by Day Bella, Yang Dingtian and the same woman went through the second wedding ceremony. Even today's wedding dress was provided by Xiang Xiang. This was because after Yang Dingtian left, Xiang Xiang secretly made a set of wedding dress for herself and Yang Dingtian. But today, she had to offer her wedding dress to Huang Yu. Huang Yu was taller than Xiang Xiang, and her body was fuller. Therefore, Xiang Xiang's wedding dress was smaller, and on Huang Yu's body, it looked even more voluptuous. After praying to the 2 moons and 2 suns in the sky, they prayed to the land of chaos, and they prayed to their mother-in-law's parents. Then, Yang Dingtian and Huang Yu were sent to a treehouse in the forest. That was Huang Yu and Yang Dingtian's bridal chamber tonight. In the bridal chamber, only Yang Dingtian and Huang Yu were lit with candles. The 2 of them sat across the table, and Huang Yu's head was covered with a veil. Don't you hate me? Why are you willing to marry me? Huang Yu said, did my master beg you? She did beg me, but if I'm not willing, no matter who begs, it's useless. Yang Dingtian said, don't you hate me too? Why are you willing to marry me? Huang Yu was silent for a moment and didn't say anything. I didn't agree, Huang Yu said. Then it's just a show. You lied to your master. Well, I can cooperate with you, Yang Dingtian said. Yes, I can't let go of you. When I saw you for the first time, my heart trembled. I don't know why. I hate you very much. I want to beat you and kill you. However, I also want to be beaten and killed by you. I hate you very much, but I can't help but go to see you. When Xiang Xiang acts coquettishly towards you, I feel uncomfortable. I don't know why. Huang Yu said, but even so, I still won't marry you. So, my master told me some things. For example, I once had a love and hate relationship with you, and I once gave birth to a child for you. She told you everything? Yang Dingtian said in surprise. No, she only told me that I once had a love and hate relationship with you, and that I once gave birth to a child for you. But she doesn't want me to go back to the past. She wants me to be the current me. Huang Yu sighed and said, then I agreed. I don't care who I was before. But I don't want to marry 2 men. After saying that, Huang Yu pulled off the veil on her head and looked at Yang Dingtian boldly with her beautiful eyes. Are you going to continue to hate me and sit there until dawn, or are you going to give me a complete night of candles? Her beautiful face was flushed red. She was so beautiful that it was impossible to look at her directly. Yang Dingtian suddenly stood up and approached her. He said fiercely, "Haven't I told you? I've wanted to beat you up for a long time. Come on, an eye for an eye, an eye for an eye." Huang Yu stared at Yang Dingtian boldly and said, "Hey, I'm already married and have a child. I won't pretend to be reserved." Then, Huang Yu boldly opened her mouth and bit Yang Dingtian's neck. Then, the entire treehouse became the craziest battlefield. Then, Yang Dingtian decided that he would go find Queen Poisa tomorrow and fight alone. Chapter 624. As long as the sword stabbed down, Queen Poisa would be reduced to ashes. As long as the sword stabbed down, everyone in Holy Valley could be saved, and everyone in the Dongli grassland could be saved. However, Yang Dingtian still did not stab down. Not because he was soft-hearted, nor because he was blinded by love. It was because of the doubts in his heart. "Yang Dingtian, why aren't you making a move? This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity." Suddenly, Queen Poisa said in a hoarse voice. Suddenly, it was as if a bolt of lightning struck Yang Dingtian's head. His gaze immediately turned to Queen Poisa's face. Her beautiful eyes were still blurred, and she was still kissing Yang Dingtian's face. "If I remember correctly, you should be holding a sword of nothingness in your space ring. You can stab me at any time and reduce me to ashes," Queen Poisa said. Yang Dingtian's heart trembled again. "That good sister of mine is indeed powerful, to be able to send you to assassinate me. You are indeed the only one who can succeed." Queen Poisa said, "I am already aroused, and my 7-inch bone gate has already opened. If not for your hesitation, I would already be dead." "Yang Dingtian, when did you discover my killing intent?" "Just when you were struggling." "Right now, you are struggling," Queen Venemusa said. "Yang Dingtian, that shouldn't be. You clearly know that I came from Holy Valley, so the possibility of me coming to assassinate you is very high." "That's right, I didn't take your lethality to heart. Of course, the most important thing is that I didn't guard against you at all," Queen Poisa said. "Why?" "Yang Dingtian, because I made you aroused." "No, that's not the reason. Before I tell you the reason, please tell me, why are you hesitating, why didn't you make a move?" Queen Poisa said. "Because, I have a lot of doubts in my heart," Yang Dingtian said. "What doubts?" Queen Poisa said. "Very subtle things. Yang Dingtian, for example, when I talked about the baby, as a grandmother, she didn't show any emotion. After Dugu Fengwu and I got married, she turned into an extremely infatuated person and didn't have her previous carefree attitude. There are many, many more, and they are extremely subtle. It's just a feeling, and there is no reason for it. Now it's my turn to answer you." Queen Poisa said, "Why am I not on guard against you?" "Because my daughter, Shuang, is your wife. You are the person she loves the most in this world. And I also know that she has become a Naga." As soon as she said this, Yang Dingtian felt as if he had been struck by lightning. He immediately tried to push Queen Poisa away. What? She was Shuang's mother. Then, who was Saint Ishixen? Because this signified the most terrifying thing. However, Queen Poisa held on to Yang Dingtian tightly and said with a smile, "That's right, I am Dugu Ao Shuang's mother." Yang Dingtian tried to push her away again. He had never, ever thought of this possibility. "It doesn't matter, child. Let's not talk about what happened between us. Even if there is something, it doesn't matter. Our sea snake race doesn't care about this," Queen Poisa said. "Ridiculous," Yang Dingtian said angrily. His entire body was cold as he said sternly, "You, how can you do this? Senior Dugu Shao is my most respected senior. I am Shuang's husband." How can you do this? Isn't your sea snake race the most loyal race? Queen Poisa gently stroked Yang Dingtian's face, trying to calm him down. Yang Dingtian suddenly pushed her hand away. Dugu Xiao is not Shuang-er's father, Queen Poisa said indifferently. Yang Dingtian suddenly trembled. Dugu Xiao is not Shuang-er's father. How is that possible? Dugu Xiao might be a hero of the world, but someone who can be nurtured by the sea snake race will not appear in hundreds of years. Dugu Xiao is not that person. Queen Poisa said, he went to the soul-departing palace and didn't ask for anything. He only took away Shuang, who was in swaddling clothes. Yang Dingtian looked at Queen Poisa in disbelief. It turned out that Shuang-er was raised by Dugu Xiao in the soul-departing palace. Then, what about Dugu Fengwu? Is she your daughter? Yang Dingtian asked. No, she is not. She is Dugu Xiao's daughter. In order to deceive others, Dugu Xiao let outsiders think that Dugu Fengwu and Dugu Aoshuang are twin sisters. Dugu Xiao said, Dugu Fengwu's mother is someone else. Even if senior Dugu Xiao is not Shuang-er's father, Shuang-er still has a father. Yang Dingtian said, what do you think of him by doing this? Queen Poisa smiled and caressed Yang Dingtian's face. Silly child. Our sea snake race is the most loyal race. If I have a man, why would I betray him? If you don't have a man, how did you give birth to Shuang-er? Yang Dingtian said angrily. Maybe there is a man, but I don't know. Queen Poisa smiled bitterly and said, when I was pregnant, I didn't know anything. I don't know who that person is. Maybe he is just a demon. During those few days, I seemed to be in a daze and didn't know anything. By the time I woke up, I was already pregnant. If there is such a man, then he is probably a demon. Yang Dingtian was astonished. Even Queen Poisa didn't know who Shuang-er's father was. At that time, I was living a boring and leisurely life in the snake race. Hai Xian didn't want to be lonely and roamed the world, trying to find someone who could make her go into heat so that she could give birth to a powerful race of gods. Poisa said indifferently, just like that, the days passed. It seemed very slow, but it also seemed very fast. 100 years passed by with a wave of my hand. That's right, there was a period of time when your master, Dongfang Minmi, tried to barge into my territory. In the end, I used the great illusion art to expel him. Of course, there were many people who were expelled by me. Yang Dingtian's heart shuddered. He said that his master had barged into the snake race's territory not long ago, and no outsiders knew about it. And Queen Poisa said this matter, so it was undoubtedly true. Suddenly, one day, it was as if an immortal in the sky had stretched out a hand and directly grabbed me and took me thousands of miles away, hundreds of thousands of miles away. Then, I don't know anything. When I woke up, I was already pregnant and I was in a dilapidated and lonely palace. Queen Poisa said. Palace? Soul-leaving palace? Yang Dingtian said in shock. Yes, soul-leaving palace. Queen Poisa said, a small and dilapidated palace. It was very old, and very lonely. There was no door, I couldn't break it, I couldn't get out. At that time, with my half-sage cultivation, I couldn't break a window even if I tried my best. Not to mention going out, I couldn't even look at the scenery outside. Yang Dingtian's soul was almost trembling. He said, and then? Then, I stayed in the soul departure hall for a few years. Then one day, I felt a sharp pain in my stomach, and I immediately fell unconscious. Queen Vanamsa said, when I woke up, I had already recovered to my original state. Beside me, there's a baby covered in scales. You know that it's Shuang-er. And then? Yang Dingtian asked. Then, footsteps came from outside. Queen Poisa said, I was very excited because this was the first time in several years that someone had come to the soul-leaving palace. However, I was immediately imprisoned in the darkness. I could see everything but I couldn't make any sound and no one could see me. And then? Yang Dingtian. Then, I saw a person push open the door and come in. This person was Dugu Shao. Queen Poisa said, the first thing he saw when he came in was Shuang, her, who was crying on the ground. Her entire body was covered in terrifying scales. Then, it was as if there was an energy that suddenly enveloped his body. His face fell into an expression of incomparable happiness, incomparable satisfaction, and incomparable intoxication, as if he was in a fairyland. Then, a sound came from the soul-leaving palace. This was the first time in a few years that a sound came from the soul-leaving palace. What kind of sound was it? Yang Dingtian asked. It was very ordinary, so ordinary that it couldn't be described with words. Queen Poisa said, this sound told Dugu Shao that since he had found this place, it was a great fate. Therefore, he wanted to fulfill Dugu Shao's wish. It could make him the #1 person in the world, give him the most powerful cultivation technique, give him the most powerful energy. Anything, as long as Dugu Shao asks, the soul-leaving palace can give him. Yang Dingtian immediately thought of Zhu Qingzhu. After he went to the soul-leaving palace, he obtained the second-class evil spirit energy and immediately became a top expert closest to the half-saint realm. There was also the lonely man. After entering the soul-leaving palace, he obtained the most powerful Yaksha body. Senior Dugu Shao didn't want anything. He only wanted Shuang, who was crying on the ground. Yang Dingtian asked. Yes, he looked at the crying baby on the ground with pity. He asked if he could ask for something before taking the baby away. The soul-leaving palace said no and could only take one. Furthermore, he said that this baby was to be raised in the soul-departing palace. Queen Venom Shah said, Dugu Shao said that he wanted this baby. The soul-leaving palace was quiet for a while and said, this is not what I want to provide. Dugu Shao said, but you said that I can choose anything in this palace. Therefore, the soul-leaving palace agreed to let Dugu Shao take the baby away. Therefore, Aoshuang became Dugu Shao's daughter. Yang Dingtian said with a trembling voice, actually, Senior Dugu Shao has always treasured Shuang, He even used Fengwu's birth to help cover up Shuang, existence. Yes, it should be so. Queen Poisa said. Yang Dingtian's heart trembled slightly. Previously, Dugu Aoshuang had always had an inferiority complex and was even extreme. She felt that Dugu Shao didn't love her, didn't care about her, and was biased towards Dugu Fengwu. She even hated Dugu Shao and was jealous of Dugu Fengwu. She didn't expect that Dugu Fengwu existed because of her. And then? Yang Dingtian asked. Then, I lost my divine sense. When I woke up again, I was already at home in the Snakeman Race's tower. Those few years in the soul-leaving palace were like a dream. It was as if nothing had happened. Queen Poisa said, in fact, I didn't feel anything strange with my own body. Therefore, later on, I always suspected that these things didn't happen. Perhaps it was really a dream. But this made me very afraid of leaving the Snakeman race. Therefore, I sent my most trusted and beloved sister, Hai Xian, to scout for the humans. Hai Xian is younger than you? Yang Dingtian asked. Yes, she is younger than me, about 100 years younger. Therefore, I was the one who brought her up. For a very long time, we relied on each other for survival. Yang Dingtian smiled and said, in fact, many of these snake men were personally brought up by me. For example, Momo, who is infatuated with you, is the one I love the most. Yang Dingtian suddenly thought that Hai Xian went to the human continent and acted as Mistress Mi Di. She traveled the world to find the whereabouts of Dugu Aoshuang. Later on, Hai Xian came back and reported to me. Dugu Shao did have a daughter, and her body was covered in scales. Queen Poisa said, I then knew that all of this wasn't a dream. I still didn't dare to leave this tower, so I could only let Hai Xian secretly protect Shuang, She was very interested in Shuang, at first, thinking that she was a Naga. After more than 10 years, she didn't find any energy in Shuang-er's body, nor did she find any possibility of Naga. Therefore, she gradually gave up her mission to protect and turned to travel the world to find someone who could make her fall in love. She wanted to give birth to a powerful race of gods. Later on, she saw countless men and didn't find any signs of love, so she temporarily gave up and returned to the snakeman race. She started to ask me who made me give birth to offspring. I said that I didn't know, but she didn't believe me. She felt that I was lying to her. Therefore, she became more and more suspicious of me, more and more jealous. Until one day, she was jealous of everything I had, including my power in the snakeman race. She tried to take everything away from me. And then? Yang Dingtian asked. Then, she colluded with the highest spies of evil ways in the Dongli Prairie. Queen Poisa said, of course, even so, she didn't dare to make a move against me because I was much stronger than her. Until one day, my cultivation suddenly began to decline. That day, I suddenly became very weak. She didn't know what was going on, but I knew because Shuang had transformed into a Naga. Therefore, she, who had endured for many years, finally made a move with the spies of evil ways to kill me. Yang Dingtian's heart trembled. Saintess Hai Xian said that Queen Poisa was colluding with evil ways, but he didn't expect that Queen Poisa would say that the one who colluded with the evil ways was Hai Xian herself. Queen Poisa continued, however, the time she chose was still not right. At that time, although I was already weak, I was not weak to that extent. Therefore, I seriously injured her. I could kill her, but I couldn't bear it. Therefore, she escaped. Moreover, she began to make a move on the entire Dongli Prairie, trying to find countless cannon fodder to destroy my Naga race. But, I saw that the person who built the Naga Empire was you, and the person who turned the Dongli Prairie into hell was also you. Yang Dingtian said. That's right. I made the first move. Queen Poisa said, in the shortest amount of time, I swept through the entire Power Prairie and built the Naga Empire. Then why did you turn the entire Dongli Prairie into hell? Why did you use tens of millions of slaves to build a line of defense for tens of thousands of miles? Don't say that you didn't do these things. Don't say that you didn't kill these tens of millions of half-humans. Yang Dingtian said angrily. That's right, I did it, I killed them. Queen Poisa said. Then why? Could it be to deal with Hai Xian? That can't be. Yang Dingtian said. Of course it's not to deal with Hai Xian. Queen Poisa looked at Yang Dingtian and said word by word, it's for you. The World Extermination War is coming soon. I don't have much time left, so I have to completely clean up the Dongli Prairie in the shortest amount of time. I definitely can't let the half-humans become one of the evil ways of the Legion of Doom. I want to leave you with a complete Naga Empire. I want to build an unprecedentedly huge line of defense. In the future, when the entire human continent completely falls, you still have a final place of defense. Queen Poisa looked at Yang Dingtian. I know what you did in the western and central continents. You're too slow, you're too soft-hearted. My heart is hard enough, so I can turn the entire Dongli Prairie into the most powerful fortress. For my daughter, for my son-in-law, what can I not do? Yang Dingtian said with a trembling voice, now that we're like this, how can I be your son-in-law? Queen Poisa said, actually, I don't mind giving birth to a younger sister for Shuang. But it seems like you mind, so there's no need to continue. Hearing Queen Poisa's words, Yang Dingtian wanted to refute it as a fallacy, but in the end, he couldn't say anything. That middle-aged man who was sent to Demon City's merchant hall to auction the first volume of the fourth stage of the pig-slaying sword art was also sent by you? Yang Dingtian asked. Yes, I also sent him. Queen Poisa said, did he give you the secret manual? You don't know. Yang Dingtian said. Know what? Queen Poisa said. I thought he was sent by the evil ways, so I didn't buy it. The secret manual fell into the hands of Earth-splitting city's lord, Kuei Si, and this Naga man was killed. Yang Dingtian said. Queen Poisa's eyes trembled, revealing a trace of pain. That middle-aged Naga man's status was actually very low, not worth mentioning, but his death still made her eyes tremble. Of course, don't worry, I got the first volume of the 4th stage of the pig-slaying sword art through another channel. Yang Dingtian said, Demon City's Merchant Hall, is it your people? They told me that the pig-slaying sword art is in your hands and told me to come to Dongli Grassland to find you. But after I came, I first met Saint Ishai Xian. Your Majesty Queen, is the 2nd volume of the 4th stage of the pig-slaying sword art in your hands? At this time, in Holy Valley. Old slave Awu stood behind Saint Ishai Xian, his eyes filled with infatuation and adoration. He only dared to release such a gaze when facing her from the back. When facing her from the front, he would feel extremely ashamed. Master, it should be about time. Yang Dingtian should have already killed Poisa. Ah Wu said. Who knows? But no matter what, that sister of mine is dead for sure today. Saint Ishai Xian said indifferently, Gue Wuzi, why don't I bestow her body to you later, how about it? Xian Tian Sex Gue Wuzi. Evil Wei's highest spy in Central Continent, one of the only 2 spirit masters in the world at that time. Chapter 625. The second half of the 4th stage of the pig-slaying swordsmanship. Queen Poisa said, I don't have it here, but Hai Xian may have it. Because the first half was given to me by her when she was traveling the continent. Yang Dingtian suddenly frowned. The so-called Saint Ishai Xian was so scheming. It was really difficult to get something from her. Now that you have seen through Hai Xian, what are you going to do? Yang Dingtian said, I don't object to you killing her, but you have to let go of some people around her and the people in the Holy Valley. No, I won't kill her, and I can't kill her. Queen Poisa smiled and said, Little Tian, I'm no longer her opponent. My cultivation is degenerating every day. Previously, I could still defeat Hai Xian by relying on the tower's array. Now, I'm far from being her opponent. It's just that she doesn't know that after being seriously injured by me once, she doesn't dare to attack me again. Instead, she sent you to kill me. Yang Dingtian was horrified and said, with so many great masters and masters, you still can't kill her? I don't know. Queen Poisa said, Little Tian, she was also a half-step saint before. But after being seriously injured by me a few months ago, she was only a great master. I'm not sure if she has recovered. If she hasn't recovered, then my subordinates can kill her. If she has recovered, then she can kill all of my subordinates. Yang Dingtian said, then you have to guess that she has fully recovered, otherwise she won't attack you. If she hasn't fully recovered, even if she kills you, she won't be able to take down the Snake Empire. Queen Poisa said, if she has recovered to half-step saint, then she is invincible in the entire Dongli Grassland. On the peak of the huge stone mountain, she was meditating with her eyes closed, absorbing the moonlight. Below her, there was a piece of raw stone that was spinning with white light. The moonlight in the sky and the huge mountain below seemed to provide an incomparably powerful energy that crazily poured into her body. In the end, her body became darker and darker. In fact, it was as if it had devoured all light, and its entire body seemed to have turned into a black hole. All of a sudden, her beautiful eyes snapped open. She stretched out her jade-like hand and gently clenched and twisted it in the direction of Yang Dingtian and Huang Yu's bridal chamber. Bang! In an instant, the bridal chamber dozens of miles away was smashed to pieces. Then, she pressed her palm against the pond below the bridal chamber. Suddenly, the entire pond burst into blue flames, instantly turning the water in the pond into nothingness. Elder sister, the injuries you caused me have finally healed today. Don't worry, I will return it to you tenfold, 100-fold. Hai Xian said indifferently. At this moment, a stooped figure flew to the top of the mountain like a vulture. He knelt at her feet and said in a trembling voice, "Congratulations, Master, for returning to the half-saint level. I've been cultivating for nearly 2,000 years, but I'm only a semi-sage." "It's not worth mentioning," Hai Xian said indifferently. "Well, I'm going to do something soon. You deal with this place." "Yes," Gue Wuzi said. Then, like a fairy, Hai Xian floated down from the sky. Gue Wuzi looked at the origin stone Hai Xian sat on with incomparable infatuation. Below, there was a bottomless cave. Inside, there are countless corpses. Endless corpses. All of them are women, all of them are in their teens, young half-human girls. There are tens of thousands of corpses. The originally tender and beautiful girls all have distorted faces and died in fear. All of the girls are like dried corpses, all of their blood and energy were sucked out. The exact number is 90,000. Hai Xian used the most direct method to restore her half-saint level cultivation. Because the seal is too strong, most of these girls came from Holy Valley. They regarded Hai Xian as their holy maiden, their lifelong idol who had given them a new lease on life. But they never thought that they would become her food. Xiao Tian, now in Dongli grassland, there is no one who is Hai Xian's opponent. She can also easily kill me. It's just that a few months ago, she was scared of me, so she didn't dare to come to me directly, Hai Xian said. Today, she asked you to kill me, so no matter what, she will come to me. Yang Dingtian suddenly trembled. So no one can stop her. Queen Poisa said indifferently. Yang Dingtian said, even Naga can't. Shuang is now beside me, should I let her come out to see you? No, don't. Queen Poisa said, I want to see her more than anything. But my relationship with her is too close. Once I see her, it will affect her dependence on you. Before the two of you have sex, you must not let her come into contact with a second person, even if that person is her mother. You must become her one and only lover in this world, a family member. Otherwise, when she is truly strong, it will be difficult for you to control her. Naga's contempt for humans is unparalleled. Xiao Tian, do you know? In ancient times, after the defective Naga looked for humans to mate with, what did they do? Yang Dingtian shook his head. Eat that man directly, Queen Poisa said. Yang Dingtian was shocked and said, didn't they say that Naga are the most loyal in the world? Even your sea snake clan will be dead set once you fall in love with a male. That's right, the second generation Naga is a race full of defects, different from the sea snake clan and Naga, Queen Poisa said. Yang Dingtian, then aren't you a second generation Naga? How can you give birth to a Naga? Queen Poisa said, the reason is very simple. It's because the master of the soul-leaving palace did something to my body. And you have also discovered that Shuang's Naga should be different from the legendary Naga. I have never seen a real Naga, Yang Dingtian said. I haven't seen it either. Queen Poisa said. Then she suddenly held Yang Dingtian's face and put her beautiful face close to him. Xiao Tian, do you think I'm beautiful? Yang Dingtian's heart trembled. Of course you're beautiful. Your beauty now surpasses Hai Xian and Shu Piaoyan. Perhaps only Shuang can compare to you when she grows up. Sigh. Queen Poisa sighed softly and said, Xiao Tian, you regard me as an elder. And I regard you as a man. Even though I gave birth to a child, I have never fallen in love. Today is the first time. Hai Xian will be here soon. You have to think of a way. Yang Dingtian said. A way? Queen Poisa said softly, my cultivation is degenerating every day. Now, according to you humans, I'm only an advanced grandmaster. Rather than degenerating like this, it's better to give it to you. Give it to me? How? Yang Dingtian said in shock. You know the yin-yang devouring mystic technique. Queen Poisa said. Yang Dingtian's face instantly stiffened. He gritted his teeth and said, I really can't do it. Then I'll do it. Queen Poisa gently pressed her jade-like hand on Yang Dingtian's chest. Immediately, Yang Dingtian's body was completely unable to move. Queen Poisa said, although I have given birth, I have checked. My body is not damaged. I don't even know how I gave birth to the child. Today, before I die, please grant me my wish. I will use the yin-yang devouring mystic technique to give you my cultivation and then die in your arms. Let Hai Xan think that you killed me. That way, she will let you go. As Queen Poisa spoke, she used the yin-yang devouring mystic technique to transfer all her cultivation to Yang Dingtian. Yang Dingtian could not move, but he gritted his teeth so hard that blood flowed out. Queen Poisa's beautiful eyes trembled and tears flowed out. She said, You still feel that you can't pass the barrier in your heart, right? If I do this, it will leave you with a shadow, right? Yang Dingtian moved his gaze, indicating that he admitted it. Queen Poisa removed the restriction and said, Speak. Yang Dingtian stared at her and said, I'm not afraid to tell you the truth, Your Majesty. Because you don't have a husband, since you want to give everything to me, I dare to accept it. However, I definitely won't accept it under such circumstances. Such a situation is too despairing. Tell me your plan. Queen Poisa said, I have already arranged everything. I will give all my cultivation to you and then die in your arms. Let Hai Xan think that I was killed by you. That way, she will let you go. I have already ordered that after I die, the entire snake men race will not resist. They will worship Hai Xan as their queen and preserve their strength. One day, when you are strong enough, or when Shuang is strong enough, you will return to the Snake Men Empire, kill Hai Xan, and take control of the entire Snake Men Empire. I've already arranged everything. The day Hai Xan dies, you will be the king of the Snake Men Empire. Then, Queen Poisa sighed softly and said, Hai Xan has always been jealous of my rule over the Snake Men race, jealous of my power. However, she does not know that to the Snake Men race, I am not the queen, but their mother. The reason why they obey me is not because I am strong, but because they were all raised by me. Shuang is too strong and too arrogant. She cannot be the queen of the Snake Men race. Momo is different. She has extraordinary talent and has been in love with you. So when you leave the Dongli grassland, you can make her the queen and take control of the entire Snake Men Empire. Queen Poisa said, What you need to do now is to accept everything about me, let me die in your arms, and then watch Hai Xan become the queen of the Snake Men Empire, and then safely escape. How do you know that she won't kill me? Yang Dingtian said, Even if you pretend that I killed you, she might still kill me. No, you are the only one who can make her in love. As long as you don't find out her conspiracy, she won't kill you. Queen Poisa said, She even has to show the appearance of a saintess in front of everyone, in front of you. Yang Dingtian's face twitched. Silly child, there is no other way. My cultivation has been degenerating, I can't waste it. Today, I will definitely die. No one can stop Hai Xan. Only if I die in your arms and give the queen to her can I protect the Snake Men race and protect you. Queen Poisa said. After saying that, Queen Poisa gently stroked Yang Dingtian's lips and said, Okay, I'm done. Fulfill me. You are the most beautiful woman in the world. Anyone will be captivated by your beauty. Yang Dingtian said, I said, since you dare to give it to me, then I dare to take it. But not now. Not a night of spring breeze. I want it from morning to night, I want it forever. Fool, it's impossible. Queen Poisa said with a smile, For me, a short moment is enough. Golden wind and jade do meet, is it better than countless people in the world? Yang Dingtian said. This stolen poem had instantly stirred the venomous queen's emotions as she kissed Yang Dingtian deeply. Yang Dingtian pressed down on her waist, making her unable to move, and said, it's not enough for me. I want it from morning to night. Then, let's change the plan and do as I say. How about it? No, no, little Tian. Queen Poisa said with a trembling voice, you will kill yourself. Today is a dead end, I must die. Yes, but it's a different way to die, a way to die from morning to night in the future. Yang Dingtian said, okay, it's decided. Today, we will follow my plan, okay? Queen Venom Sha looked at Yang Dingtian with her beautiful eyes. Her eyes were filled with pampering and dependence. Everyone says that I, Queen Poisa, am ruthless and unfathomable. In fact, it's all nonsense. I'm just a simple woman, so I stay in the tower every day, writing and drawing, and taking care of the hatched serpent men children. Queen Poisa sighed and said, okay, I'll listen to you, I'll listen to everything you say. Hai Xian, who was at the half-step saint level, directly entered within a few dozen miles of the tower. She didn't encounter any obstruction. Suddenly, she was shocked. She was really afraid of this elder sister. Although she looked so gentle and pure. But it was this pure woman who pretended to be weak a few months ago and lured her to attack, almost causing her to die. If it wasn't for her soft-heartedness, she would have become a pile of bones. Now, although she felt that her elder sister was definitely going to die, she couldn't help but be afraid when she approached the tower. After all, this was the elder sister who had raised her since she was young. She was really afraid of her. Could this be a trap? Hai Xian's footsteps even slightly hesitated. However, she had no other choice. At this moment, she saw Yang Dingtian slowly walk to the window of the tower, holding the sword of nothingness that was dripping with black smoke. Hai Xian was ecstatic and quickly left. Chapter 626. Yang Dingtian had once asked why the sword of nothingness could kill Poisa, so naturally, it could also kill Hai Xian. Queen Poisa said 2 sentences. First of all, this sword of nothingness was provided by Hai Xian, so she was absolutely on guard against this thing. Second, Hai Xian could not die now. Before Yang Dingtian or Shuang Er became strong, the Snake Men Empire needed at least one quasi-holy rank expert. As she walked up the tower, Hai Xian's heart was filled with an unprecedented excitement, an unprecedented joy, and an unprecedented nervousness and unease. For the past few years, Poisa had been locked up in the tower, not knowing anything about the outside world. Before, the only way she could get information was through herself. Moreover, everything Queen Poisa did in the Dongli grassland was incomparably cruel and could not be washed away. Therefore, Hai Xian was very relieved to let Yang Dingtian come to see Queen Poisa. Of course, in this world, only 5 people knew that Shuang Er had become Naga, Dugu Xiao, Qin Wanqiu, Yang Dingtian, Dongfang Minmi, and Queen Poisa. And only these 5 people knew that Naga Shuang was by Yang Dingtian's side. This was the world's top secret, and Saintess Hai Xian did not know. Therefore, she was relieved to let Yang Dingtian come to see Queen Poisa. With Yang Dingtian's character of abhorring evil, and in order to protect the people in Holy Valley, he would definitely take action. On this point, Hai Xian was very, very confident. Walking to the top of the tower, there was a door in front of her. Hai Xian was unprecedentedly uneasy and nervous. If this was a trap, if Poisa was waiting for her inside, then this time she would be dead for sure. Since he had come this far, there was no turning back. Hai Xian pushed the door open. There was no suspense. She saw a corpse. It was a beautiful corpse. This woman whom she was afraid of, whom she relied on, whom she was jealous of, and whom she hated, had finally become a corpse. The only woman in this world who was more beautiful than him, who was so beautiful that he was jealous of her even in death, had finally become a cold corpse. She lay quietly on the bed, completely naked. There was also a scarlet mark on his body. Her face was still in the most blurred and intoxicated state. However, this perfect body didn't look like a corpse at all. Instead, it looked like the most perfect jade statue. Hai Xian stepped forward and flipped the back of her neck. Sure enough, her 7-inch bone gate was opened. In the softest vital area, there was an extremely dark black dot. Her sister, Poisa, was dead. He was deader than dead. Yang Dingtian, on the other hand, was holding a sword of nothingness and standing on the side in a daze. Seeing Hai Xian enter, Yang Dingtian's scattered eyes became slightly focused. I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry. Hai Xian quickly ran over and hugged Yang Dingtian in her arms as she kept saying gently in her ear. Where's the box for the sword? Hai Xian asked gently. Yang Dingtian took out a jade box in a daze. Be good, put it in. Hai Xian held her breath. Yang Dingtian placed the sword of nothingness into the box. Hai Xian heaved a long sigh of relief and then kept the jade box in her arms as she said gently, I'm sorry, I'm sorry. Child, I'm sorry. Then, Hai Xian hugged Yang Dingtian in her arms as tears kept flowing down her face. Her schemes were indeed very deep. She only said sorry but did not say why Yang Dingtian had taken the risk of using the sword of nothingness. It was as if she had said everything, but also as if she had not said anything at all. Why didn't you run? Why didn't you run after you succeeded? Do you know how dangerous it was? Thank goodness I arrived in time, otherwise you would have been dead for sure. Hai Xian grumbled. When I killed her, she seemed to be very happy. Yang Dingtian said, she didn't seem to be as powerful as I imagined. What did she say to you? Hai Xian hugged Yang Dingtian. No, she didn't say anything. Yang Dingtian said. Hai Xian released Yang Dingtian and then took off her robe and draped it over Yang Dingtian's body. Then, she picked up Queen Poisa's green dress from the ground and a trace of admiration appeared in her beautiful eyes. Then, she put the dress on Queen Poisa's body. All right, little Tian, I'll take you away. Hai Xian said gently. Right at this moment. Whoosh 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 whoosh, outside, dozens of light shadows flashed and stopped in an instant. The 4 commanders and 16 generals of the Snake People Empire were all present. This was the highest level of the Snake People Empire. Perhaps, this was the most beautiful and enchanting group in the world. Every single one of them, if placed in the hands of a human, would be a 1 in a million beauty. Seeing Queen Poisa's body on the bed. Suddenly, everyone showed a horrified expression. Then, half of them shed tears. At first, it was just tears, but later, it turned into tears of blood. And the other half of them did not shed a single tear, they just clenched their jade teeth tightly. Puff! Finally, when Gu Chang could not help it, she opened her mouth and spat out a mouthful of blood. Your queen, my sister, I killed her. Hai Xian said slowly, I can't sit by and watch her turn the entire Dongli grassland into hell. I can't sit by and watch countless lives become slaves. If you want to avenge her, come. Suddenly, the 4 commanders and 16 generals of the Snake People race, 20 pairs of beautiful eyes instantly looked at Hai Xian. They did not hide their most hateful gazes at all. Among them, Viper Mo's beautiful corner of her eye even burst open, blood dripping from the corner of her eye. If you want to kill me, do it. Hai Xian slowly closed her beautiful eyes and stood against the wind. After a long time, the 4 commanders and 16 generals of the Snake People race did not make a move, instead, they knelt down neatly. Your subordinate pays his respects to Queen Hai Xian. Hai Xian's delicate body trembled violently. In her heart, it was as if a flower had suddenly bloomed. She had succeeded, she had finally waited for this day. The scene in front of her was completely out of her expectations. The half-human race was like this. Once the king was killed, even if the hatred was as deep as the sea, the clansman who killed the king would be worshipped as the new king. This was the law of the half-human race, the strongest was the king. However, Hyexian had never known this. From the beginning to the end, Poisa had never shown her strength to the snake people race, except for Hyexian. The reason why the snake people race worshipped Poisa as their king was entirely because of their love and admiration for her. However, people always saw the world from their own eyes, from their own hearts. In Hyexian's eyes, the strongest was the king. Then in her world, the strongest was the king. At this moment, her 1,000 years of dream had come true. In her excitement and ecstasy, perhaps because she was too close to Yang Dingtian, she even felt that deep in her heart, her feelings seemed to be rippling, burning her heart, making her completely unable to suppress it. Suddenly, her beautiful eyes could not help but quickly drift towards Yang Dingtian. Then, she immediately moved away. Saintess Hyexian defeated and killed Queen Poisa, becoming the new queen of the Snake People Empire. After this news spread, the 8 major battle clans were in a state of panic. However, the entire Snake People race seemed very calm. Within the sacred valley, it had completely become a sea of joy. Everyone was in a state of ecstasy. They were saved. Their saintess had once again created a miracle. Within the entire sacred valley, almost everyone was shouting the name of Saintess Hyexian. Only one person had tears in her beautiful eyes and her beautiful face was filled with anger. This person was Huang Yu. When she saw Yang Dingtian, she rushed into his embrace like a little bird, her beautiful eyes filled with hatred as she said, "Husband, did Master use you to kill Queen Poisa? Is it? Is it?" Yang Dingtian gently stroked her hair and said, "There's no such thing. Don't lie to me, it must be so." Huang Yu cried, "Only you can make the Snake People race fall head over heels for you, only you have the chance to kill Queen Poisa. She must have used you, she must have done so. How could she do this?" Then, Huang Yu wiped away her tears and said, "Husband, let's go. From today on, I don't have a master anymore. I'll follow you from now on, and we'll depend on each other." Yang Dingtian stroked her neck lovingly. She really wasn't Feng Wu. She had behaved just like Feng Wu before she got married. She was just as tough and ruthless as Feng Wu. However, after she got married, all the pretense was stripped away. This was a girl who was extremely dependent on her relationship and was even extremely stubborn. Yes, she was very much like a person. On the surface, she looked tough and powerful, but in fact, she was weak and restless. There was no doubt that Hyexian had created the illusion that she was Feng Wu, and the wound on her chest was also faked by Hyexian. Feng Wu's wound had been specially treated by her, and the scar would never disappear. Queen Poisa's body was immersed in unfreezing water, placed in a jade coffin, and then completely sealed in the highest floor of the central tower of the Snake People race. At all times, a Grand Master Snake People would be guarding the body. Hyexian had killed her, and Hyexian had become the new queen. However, she was very smart and didn't deny everything about Queen Poisa. She still respected her as the founder of the Snake People Empire and the first queen. After that, Queen Hyexian promoted day by day Bella and the other rebel leaders to become the new generals and commanders. After that, Queen Hyexian announced the liberation of the slaves on the Dongli grassland. However, the huge defense line of tens of thousands of kilometers still had to be built. Because according to her, the end of the world was coming soon. The Snake People Empire needed to train the most elite troops and build the strongest defense line to fend off the arrival of the army. The Dongli grassland was being reorganized. The construction of cities and castles still had to be carried out. Smart people might realize that after Queen Hyexian took the throne, what she did wasn't much different from what Queen Poisa did. It was just that her methods were much gentler and gentler. However, the unique characteristics of an independent tribe such as its own territory had disappeared. From then on, the half-human race was no longer divided into werewolves and leopard men. It was a unified Snake People Empire. The half-human race was simple-minded. After experiencing Queen Poisa's cruel tyranny, even though Queen Hai Xian did the same thing, they felt like they were in heaven. In the main hall of the Snake People Empire. "Mother-in-law, I have to go," Yang Dingtian said. Queen Hai Xian trembled slightly and looked at Yang Dingtian with her beautiful eyes. You still blame me, right?" Yang Dingtian shook his head. Queen Hai Xian stepped forward and gently grabbed Yang Dingtian's hand. Her beautiful eyes looked at Yang Dingtian and said softly, "Don't go, okay? Stay and help me. There are too many things to do in the Snake People Empire. And you are the person closest to me." Yang Dingtian said, "But I also have many things to do in the human continent. Mother-in-law, the real reason why I came to the Dongli grassland is that I have yet to do." "What is it?" Queen Hai Xian said, "I will help you do it, okay? I came to find the second half of the fourth rank of the pig-slaying swordsmanship. The people of the Demon City's merchant palace told me that the pig-slaying swordsmanship is in the Dongli grassland of the Snake People tribe." Yang Dingtian said. Queen Hai Xian's beautiful eyes trembled slightly and a complicated look flashed through her eyes. "Little Tian, don't go first. I will help you ask, okay?" Hai Xian said, "I will give you a reply tomorrow." Yang Dingtian's eyes were filled with surprise. "Mother-in-law has the whereabouts of the pig-slaying swordsmanship?" "I can't say for the time being, but I will definitely give you a reply." Queen Hai Xian said, "By the way, Feng is angry with me now. She blames me for risking you and ignores me every day. Help me to talk to her." "I will." Yang Dingtian said. "That's good. Let's have dinner together as a family." Hai Xian said softly. Yang Dingtian was about to leave. Suddenly, Hai Xian gently hugged Yang Dingtian and kissed Yang Dingtian on the cheek. "Little Tian, mother really hopes that you can stay." Yang Dingtian strolled alone in the fairyland-like forest. "What should I call you?" "Mother-in-law, I really can't bring myself to call you." "Should I call you Her Majesty?" Yang Dingtian said in his heart. "Can you call me Sha Sha? You promised me that you would stay by my side day and night." Queen Poisa's voice sounded in Yang Dingtian's mind. Okay. Yang Dingtian said, "Speaking of which, it's all thanks to you. Hai Xian has drilled into my mind countless times, trying to probe my spirit and memory. If it weren't for your soul temporarily blocking my memory, I would have already revealed a flaw. Once a flaw was revealed, I would only have one result, and that is to die on the spot." "Not necessarily. Hai Xian wouldn't be willing to do that." Queen Poisa said, "However, it's still too dangerous to stay by her side. Once she mentions the pig-slaying swordsmanship, you have to leave immediately. It's too dangerous to stay by the side of a half-sage. I'm really afraid that because of her ambition, she will kill you one day after successfully using you to conceive." Chapter 627. And, no matter what Hai Xian's reply is tomorrow, I have to leave. At most, I will search for the legendary Mermaid Empire. Yang Dingtian said, "When I return, it will be the time of Hai Xian's death. I will put up with your soul temporarily in my brain. After I kill Hai Xian, I will use soul convergence to revive you. At that time, you will still be the one to personally lead the entire Snake Men Empire." Queen Poisa said, "The most important thing is, at that time, I want to become your woman and be with you openly." "All right." Yang Dingtian said, "It's a deal." "Husband, are you leaving?" Huang Yu asked the moment she saw Yang Dingtian. Yang Dingtian hesitated for a moment and nodded. "All right, then we will leave now." "I will follow you," Huang Yu said, her beautiful eyes filled with stubbornness and determination. Yang Dingtian sighed and caressed her beautiful face. Being together with her was a beautiful mistake. It was because he thought that she was Dugufengwu that Yang Dingtian agreed to marry her again. After the marriage, She removed all her strong pretense and allowed young Dingtian to see through Hyexian's flaws. That was why she didn't kill Queen Poisa. It could be said that Huang Yu had indirectly saved Poisa. She had also indirectly saved young Dingtian. Otherwise, when Yang Dingtian knew that Hyexian had killed Dugu Aoshuang's mother and that Yang Dingtian had been used by her to kill the queen who had wholeheartedly built the entire empire for him, Yang Dingtian would collapse. No, it is too dangerous for you to follow me. Yang Dingtian said gently, I will definitely come and get you within 2 years. No. Huang Yu said fiercely, no, is it because you still have a wife at home and don't dare to take me home? I have a wife at home, but I definitely dare to bring you home, and I will definitely bring you home, Yang Dingtian said. However, you must stay by your master's side. No, I want to go with you. Huang Yu's gaze became incomparably stubborn. She said, I am your wife. If I marry a chicken, I will follow the chicken. If I marry a dog, I will follow the dog. Besides, there is a child between us. We are husband and wife. Looking at Huang Yu's intense expression, Yang Dingtian had a thought. Perhaps the woman in front of him was completely innocent. She didn't know anything about her master. Hyexian had modified her body and even modified some of her memories. But she really didn't know anything. Yang Dingtian really wanted to ask Huang Yu what her memories of him were like. Who was she? However, he couldn't ask. Once he did, he would definitely arouse Hyexian's suspicion. However, her stubborn character made her more and more like a woman. That woman was Yun Cailin. Without deep contact, one would think that Yun Cailin was a powerful guru. Only after a deep understanding, one would discover her stubborn and even narrow-minded character. Then, a terrible thing happened. Yes, Hyexian had indeed traveled the world as the lost mistress, and she had indeed adopted Yun Cailin's daughter. Then, let's assume that the girl in front of him was Yun Cailin's daughter, Yun Zhenu. Then, who was Yun Zhenu in the distant Zhongzhou state? Who was Yang Dingtian's personal secretary? Yang Dingtian had sent someone to thoroughly check her body. There was no wound on her chest, and she was still a virgin. Who was she? Yang Dingtian caressed Huang Yu's face and said, now, your father has used all his power to turn you into another person. He wants you to bid farewell to your past, and he doesn't want you to be involved in the future war of evil ways. Now, the human continent is in turmoil. Once I bring you back, you will be completely involved. I can't do that. I'm not afraid. Huang Yu said loudly. But I am. Yang Dingtian said, the grassland of Dongli is thousands of miles away. You're safe here. Huang Yu said fiercely, no, whatever you say is useless. I must go with you. Unless you say that you don't want me. Then I can pretend that nothing happened. Then, you will find a day to kill me, right? Yang Dingtian laughed. Huang Yu couldn't help but laugh and said, yes, I will cultivate with all my might. When my cultivation surpasses yours, I will kill you, you bastard. Then, she hugged Yang Dingtian tightly and said, husband, I beg you, don't leave me here. Yang Dingtian kissed her eyebrows gently and said softly, Huang Yu, Yang Dingtian, may be a bastard, but I will keep my words. In 2 years at most, I will come to the grassland of Dongli to pick you up. You may not know my identity. I am now the leader of the Tiando League and the leader of the Council of Light. You? Huang Yu said in surprise. Hey, what's with your tone and expression? Yang Dingtian pinched her mouth and said with a smile, all right, my cultivation may be a little weak, but it is a fact. Now, I am a little worried about your master. She said that Queen Poisa was entangled with evil ways, but in the end, she was not. I am very afraid that evil ways will infiltrate the Naga Empire. You have to help me keep an eye on it, okay? You are telling the truth. Huang Yu said. No, I am just worried. Yang Dingtian said. Hai Xian didn't doubt his words at this point. Hai Xian was already aware of Yang Dingtian's doubts. You will definitely come in 2 years. Huang Yu said. Definitely. Yang Dingtian said. Alright, I promise you. If you don't come, I will kill my way back to the human countries to find you. Huang Yu said. Then, her beautiful eyes turned and said, also, you have to stay at home with me tonight. Maybe when you come back the year after next, we will have another baby. Okay. Yang Dingtian said. The next day, Hai Xian met with Yang Dingtian as promised. Little Tian, first of all, I have to tell you that I don't have the pig-slaying sword art's 4th stage lower volume. Hai Xian said. Yang Dingtian's expression changed, and then he said, what else? However, I personally took the pig-slaying sword art's 4th stage upper volume from someone. Yang Dingtian said, or, he personally gave it to me as an exchange. Who? In exchange for what? Yang Dingtian asked. A person called Yang Yuncheng, the son of Cloud Sky City's former city lord. At that time, he was fleeing to the Dongli grasslands. In the end, he was pursued. He said that he wanted to use a rare treasure in exchange for my help. Hai Xian said, I don't care about rare treasures, but in their group, there was a child that I couldn't ignore. So I saved him, and he gave me the secret manual. I didn't care at all. It wasn't until you completely rose that the pig-slaying sword art became a true rare treasure. I had people send the pig-slaying sword art to the human countries and tried to send it to you. At that moment, Queen Poise's voice rang in Yang Dingtian's ears. Little Tian, this pig-slaying sword art was indeed given to me by Hai Xian 16 years ago. Yang Dingtian calculated. 16 years ago was indeed the time when the Yang family rebelled for the first time and was completely chased out. It was very reasonable for Yang Yuncheng to escape at that time. And at that time, Yang Yuncheng's escape had stolen many high-level secret manuals from Cloud Sky City. Among them, it should include the pig-slaying sword art's 4th stage. Of course, why were the 1st, 2nd, and 3rd stages still in Cloud Sky City? It was very simple. Because they fled in a hurry and only stole the highest-level secret manuals. And the pig-slaying sword art's 4th stage was equivalent to an ordinary 8th stage secret manual. It was at least an 8th grade secret manual. Then, this meant that the pig-slaying sword art's 4th stage lower volume was very likely in Yang Yuncheng's hands. But now, Yang Yuncheng was already dead. Yang Zheng entered Cloud Sky City for the 2nd time to rebel and tried to kill Shimen Wuya. In the 2nd rebellion, Shimen Wuya completely killed Yang Yuncheng. Immediately after, an extremely terrifying thought suddenly appeared in Yang Dingtian's mind. An extremely terrifying possibility. This possibility had been ignored by him for a long time. Because he had never seen Yang Yuncheng, he had always ignored this possibility. Yang Dingtian, why did Yang Yuncheng come to the Dongli grassland? I know that because he cultivated the pig-slaying sword art, he turned from a genius to a good-for-nothing and his cultivation did not improve at all. After coming to the Dongli grassland, he regained his strength. Moreover, he used the darkness crystal to frame Shimen Wuya. Hai Xian said, if I'm not wrong, it should be to see the evil ways of the Dongli grassland. Then, Yang Yuncheng had already become a good-for-nothing, so why did he suddenly become so strong? An answer appeared in front of Yang Dingtian's eyes. Evil energy. That's right, it was evil energy. Then, the soul of a person who possessed evil energy would never die. That day, his head was chopped off by Shimen Wuya. Everyone thought that he was dead, but if he possessed evil energy, his soul would never die. Of course, with his level, he might not be able to condense his soul or have the qualifications to be resurrected. But, his soul could always be a wanderer. Then, where would his soul be? No matter where his soul floated to, when Shimen Wuya died, he would definitely return to Cloud Sky City. And when Yang Zheng returned to Cloud Sky City to participate in the City Lord martial arts competition, he would definitely return to Cloud Sky City. Then, without a doubt, Yang Zheng had failed to frame Yang Dingtian and was turned into a walking corpse by Yang Dingtian using the evil soul art. Yang Yuncheng's soul was undoubtedly in Cloud Sky City. Then, after a person who possessed evil energy was killed, his soul would be protected by the evil spirit and would never die. But without the condensing of his soul, he would become weak. Therefore, it was very difficult to possess a normal person's body. But when a person had no soul, he could easily possess another person's body. And Yang Zheng's soul had been extracted by Yang Dingtian and turned into an empty body. And this body was his son's. Thinking of this possibility, Yang Dingtian suddenly shuddered. "Mother-in-law, I have to return to the northwest continent immediately. Goodbye." Yang Dingtian said, "I don't have time to say goodbye to Huang Yu and Xiang Xiang. Please say goodbye for me." "What happened?" "Don't worry." Hai Xian said gently, "If there's anything, mother can help you." "No need. If nothing happened, I can easily solve it myself." "If something happened, then?" Yang Dingtian said with a trembling voice, "Mother-in-law, I'm leaving." I'll send you off," Hai Xian said. Then, she took a few steps forward and hugged Yang Dingtian in her arms. At this moment, Yang Dingtian's heart was somewhat strange. His body was slightly trembling as if it was completely out of his control. What the hell, he didn't have any evil thoughts in his heart. How could there be a reaction? At this moment, he was completely like a snake to Hai Xian. How could he have any evil thoughts? Then, he immediately thought of Poisa in his mind. She seemed to have stimulated some kind of thought in his mind. "Shasha, what are you doing?" Yang Dingtian said in his mind. "Idiot, Hai Xian is hesitating. Should I turn your brain into a piece of trash and keep you here forever?" Shasha said, "Now is the most dangerous time for you. You must show that you have evil thoughts towards her. Only then will she let you go." Hai Xian instantly felt it. Then, her heart trembled and her breathing became rapid. Yes, Yang Dingtian was going to leave. She couldn't stop him. Therefore, she had the idea of turning Yang Dingtian into a walking corpse. She was ready to directly destroy all of Yang Dingtian's consciousness. But Yang Dingtian's reaction made her heart tremble. Perhaps, it would be better if Yang Dingtian was alive and well. Only then would the Snake Man race be moved. Moreover, this proved that Yang Dingtian did have evil thoughts towards her, but he was limited by morality and couldn't cross the line. Quickly pushing Hai Xian away, Yang Dingtian blushed and said, I'm sorry." Hai Xian hurriedly sorted out the thoughts in her heart and suppressed her rapid breathing. She tried her best to make herself as natural as possible. Using her identity as an elder, she caressed Yang Dingtian's face and spoke gently, "Go. Don't forget that the people closest to you are still in the east parting grassland." "I know, I will definitely come back," Yang Dingtian said. Then, he immediately turned and left. Then, with his fastest speed, he flew towards the south. The faster the better because Hai Xian's heart was in turmoil. Once she calmed down, she might regret and change her mind. 6 hours ago. The Sea Heart Queen summoned her servant, Ah Wu, to a secret place. "Gue Wuzi, go to the northwest continent's Cloud Heaven City." Queen Hai Xian said, "Find Yang Zheng and kill him. If you find the pig-slaying swordsmanship on him, immediately use the void sword to destroy it." "Yes." Gue Wuzi Ah Wu said, "However, why don't you let me bring the pig-slaying swordsmanship back to you? With the pig-slaying swordsmanship, you can control Yang Dingtian and make a deal with the Netherworld Sea and the Vulture Palace." "No, I don't need any deal." Queen Hai Xian said coldly, "I only want to destroy the pig-slaying swordsmanship. Because if I do that, Yang Dingtian will never be strong. He will always listen to me." Northwest Continent, Cloud Heaven City. Little Peach was being intimate with her idiot husband. She loved her idiot husband who was handsome, didn't look down on her, and was obedient. Little Peach's son was almost a year old now, and he could already walk. He had even started learning how to speak. At this moment, he was sleeping on his little bed. His mother's voice seemed to have woken him up. His beautiful little face began to wrinkle and his little mouth began to pout. He was about to cry. Little Peach quickly covered her mouth so that she wouldn't wake her precious son up. Next, Little Peach would take a bath with Yang Zheng. She would gently wash Yang Zheng and change his clothes. Then, she would prepare breakfast and feed the baby milk. Next, she would gently feed Yang Zheng. She was very nimble. She did these things quickly and well. Then, she would temporarily hand the baby over to her most trusted maid while she went to work with Fifth Madam. Now, she could be considered as the vice manager of internal affairs of Cloud Heaven City. She was very, very proud of her identity, so she worked very hard. In particular, Mu Lianyi had become the true Madam Sect Master. With such a powerful backer, she would naturally work even harder. Before leaving, Little Peach gently kissed Yang Zheng's lips and said softly, "I'm going to work. You have to be good at home." Yang Zheng stiffened his voice. Little Peach reluctantly left and closed the door. Suddenly, only Yang Zheng was left in the room. Yang Zheng stood in place. His originally dull and scattered eyes gradually focused and became bright. Then, he said in a hoarse voice, "Son, we should take action." Chapter 628. Holding the second half of the fourth stage of the pig-slaying swordsmanship in his hand, Yang Dingtian still felt a lingering fear. Of course, it was not entirely because he had lost the secret manual. Still, it was not a big deal to go to the underwater mermaid empire. He had already made the relevant mental preparations. It was a complete surprise to be able to get the secret manual. What made him afraid was that Yang Yuncheng's soul had actually drifted in Cloud Sky City for several years and had taken over Yang Zheng's body to live for nearly 2 years. Cloud Heaven City was Yang Dingtian's most important place. If he were to harm anyone in Cloud Heaven City, what would he do? No, I can't let Yan Yan continue to be lazy. She's so talented but her cultivation is so weak. How can I let that happen? Also, Ning Ro didn't practice her sword all day long. As for Qin Jiaojiao, she's a little idiot. Forget it. That night, Yang Dingtian told Yan Yan and the others what had happened. Instantly, Yan Yan was shocked. She even had a creepy feeling. She didn't expect her uncle's soul to have drifted for several years. Then, she swore that she would work hard to cultivate and protect Master's wife, the baby, and her sister. Of course, Yang Dingtian still had to place his hopes on Ning Ro. After all, she had already broken through to Martial Venerable. Ro, you can go to Shijing's Celestial Qi Condensation Purification Array to cultivate for a few days every once in a while, Yang Dingtian said. Okay. Ning Ro, said, I'm just worried about little Ningning. She's already so naughty when I'm at home. When I'm not at home, she's going to flip the sky. When you're not at home, let Master's wife take care of her, Yang Dingtian said. Child, are you worried about the safety of the family? Yao Rao said, you're worrying too much. After all, I'm still a 9-star master. Yang Dingtian was stunned. You're not going outside to help me? No, I have to raise my son. Our son is more important than you. Yao Rao hugged the baby and kissed him fiercely. You're mommy's precious baby. Daddy will do whatever he wants. Yang Dingtian was speechless. Mu Lianyi hugged Yang Yichen and said, Husband, what will happen to little Peach in the future? Do you want me to find her another husband? Yang Dingtian said, this woman is very opinionated. Let her decide. If you ask her to find another husband, she'll see you as her big backer. I'm afraid she'll pinch her nose and obey you. Bah, I'm not a backer. Mu Lianyi kissed Yang Yichen and said, I'm her backer. She's your first direct disciple. Yang Dingtian gently pinched Yang Yichen's little cheeks and said, I hope that when little Chin and the babies grow up, everything will be over. At that time, I can also focus on guiding them in their cultivation or do other things. It was rare for Yang Dingtian to chat with his wives. Then, his wife came in with Heng Xiu and the others and took away all the babies. Then, she said to Yang Dingtian, Little Tian, it's getting late. Rest early. Immediately, Yang Dingtian's wives blushed. They were really embarrassed that his wife came to rush them. Sisters, should we stay together or separate? Yao Rao asked. Ning Ro, was the first to run away. Mu Lianyi grabbed her and said, Sister Ro, let's stay together. That way, we'll have more time. After tonight, who knows how long it will be before we see that bastard again. Because the matter had been settled, Dongfang Minmi and the other grandmasters all returned to the Middle Continent or the East Continent. That was because they were very busy. Dongfang Minmi said that the destructive blow to the 7 refined lane had reached a critical stage. Dongfang Minmi had to go back to guard the place with Qin Wanchou to prevent the 7 refined lane from making a final counterattack. Master, after I cultivate the second half of the 4th stage of the pig-slaying swordsmanship, I'll immediately return to the Middle Continent and arrange for the substantial destruction of the 7 refined lane, Yang Dingtian said. Okay. The next morning, Yang Dingtian personally brought the children from Cloud Sky City to exercise. Then, he went directly to Shijing because the cultivation of the pig-slaying swordsmanship had to be completed in the Celestial Qi Condensation Purification Array. Shijing was now the headquarters of the West Continent's Council of Light. It was the center of the entire West Continent. Although a year ago, this place had undergone a terrifying purge and attack. However, this huge city showed an unprecedented recovery ability. The Council of Light directly appointed Qin Mengli as the city lord of Shijing. However, the military and politics were separated. Qin Mengli only had full power in the political and economic affairs. She did not have any military power. In the military, Yang Dingtian was very, very far. All the military belonged directly to the Council of Light's military command. They did not belong to anyone, not even Yang Dingtian. Yang Dingtian had the highest authority in strategic decisions. However, the promotion of officers, logistics of the military, and other important matters were all under the command of the military command. Even Yang Dingtian did not have the authority to appoint any general. Qin Mengli used to be the underground queen of Shijing. Now, she lived up to her name. However, she used to desperately earn money from her family. Although there were still many family businesses in Shijing. Most of the time, she had to desperately earn money for the Council of Light. She was very capable. In just a year, Shijing had become unprecedentedly prosperous. Before the war, the population of West Continent City was more than 1 million. Later, when Yang Dingtian reorganized West Continent, the population of West Continent City was reduced by half. Now, the population of Shijing had doubled. The scale of the city was rapidly increasing every day. The economy was unprecedentedly prosperous. This was because West Continent had undergone intense reorganization. Many vassals had lost their territories. However, they had extremely rich assets. After seeing the development of Shijing, these people had transferred their assets to Shijing and engaged in various businesses. Now, these vassals were gradually transforming into big shots. Moreover, Yang Dingtian's momentum was too strong. Therefore, these people started to become enthusiastic about many of the affairs of the Council of Light. Therefore, there were more and more talents in the Council of Light. After arriving at Shijing, he first went to the city lord's residence to meet Qin Mengli. Then, this woman threw away the pen in her hand and lay on a pile of official documents to fool around. According to her, a meal now would last 3 months to half a year. Therefore, he had to eat until he was very full. Shijing's celestial qi was condensed in the purification array. This was the most heavily guarded place of the Council of Light. Tens of thousands of acres of land were the boundaries of the future Heavenly Edict Academy. The current Heavenly Edict Academy was less than one-third built. However, the Academy had already started operations. The Celestial Qi Array was in the center of the Heavenly Edict Academy. The current Celestial Qi Array was very different from the chaotic mainland because it was based on the Snake People Empire. The scale was much larger and the energy efficiency was much higher. The demand for magnetic crystals had increased by 10 times, but they no longer needed them. They would switch to another side after a period of time. It was almost permanent. The cost of building this tens of thousands of square meters celestial qi condensation purification array could be exchanged for dozens of cloud sky cities. However, to the current Council of Light, it was nothing. All the strategic resources were self-produced. He sat cross-legged in the center of the celestial qi array. Yang Dingtian took out the second half of the fourth stage of the pig-slaying swordsmanship. He opened the scroll, took a deep breath, and inserted his celestial qi. Boom! Just as Yang Dingtian's celestial qi entered the scroll, an extremely powerful energy suddenly drilled into Yang Dingtian's body and into his brain. Yang Dingtian's mind went blank as he temporarily lost all his divine senses. When Yang Dingtian's brain regained consciousness, he was already in a vast and boundless night sky. In the distance, there were endless stars. Then, countless starlight began to condense and turned into the familiar face of Shu Piaoyan. It was an old man with white hair and a sage-like demeanor, but with a hint of worry. Child, I know you have seen me many times, but I can't help it. Every time I see you, it's the first time I see you, so, you'd better introduce yourself. Shu Piaoyan said to Yang Dingtian helplessly. So, Yang Dingtian told him all the past again. The ancient Nirvana, the master of the hidden sect, the incident of the Yin-Yang mirror, the Snake People Empire, and so on. After listening, Shu Piaoyan said, although you have said it many times and should not feel it, I still feel a burst of shock. Then, Shu Piaoyan said, well, child, you have learned the first half of the fourth stage, the first move, Yin-Yang reversal, and the second move, Yin-Yang chaos. What do you think of the chaotic Xian meridians? It's mysterious and wonderful. Yang Dingtian said, it's very, very important. It can isolate almost all energy, and it can also evolve into all energy. Yes, the chaotic attribute is the core of the entire pig-slaying swordsmanship. It is the core of the entire pig-slaying swordsmanship. It should also be the core of the Yin sect. Shu Piaoyan said, mastering the chaotic attribute is the unique symbol of the Yin sect's disciples. Then, Shu Piaoyan said, however, it should still be a little inconvenient because all the Xian fires have lost their power. Only the thunder attribute attacks are left. Next, we will learn the second half of the pig-slaying swordsmanship, which is the third move, Yin and Yang. Once you learn the third move, you will not only have the chaotic attribute, but also Yang and Yin Xian Qi. You can totally imagine how powerful it is. Yang Dingtian said excitedly, after the ancient Nirvana 10,000 years ago, only the master of the hidden sect had the Yin-Yang attribute. And having the Yin-Yang attribute is the highest symbol of the master of the hidden sect, the highest cultivation. Shu Piaoyan said, but for you, it is not the highest cultivation. Your realm is far beyond theirs. But for now, having the Yin-Yang attribute is definitely a qualitative leap for you. Your combat strength can advance by leaps and bounds. Yes, just the demon spirit demonic fire was amazing. The demon spirit demonic fire had two nature-defying attributes, one was immobilization and the other was a protective shield. Both required the Yin-Yang attribute. Yang Dingtian did not have this attribute, so every immobilization was very short and the energy shield was very fragile. After having the Yin-Yang attribute, the power of the demon spirit demonic fire could be exerted to the extreme. Okay, then let's start. Shu Piaoyan said. Then his figure directly turned into a stream of light and drilled into Yang Dingtian's body. Suddenly, Yang Dingtian began to learn the third move, Yin and Yang. The first move, Yin and Yang reversal, transformed Yang Dingtian's xian veins into the yin-yang attribute, which was extremely painful. The second move, Yin and Yang chaos, the yin-yang million spirit demonic fire set off from the qi si and baptized Yang Dingtian's yin-yang xian veins inch by inch, turning them into the chaotic attribute. The degree of pain was several times more than the first move. Then, the third move, Yin and Yang, what was going on? It was very simple. The demon spirit demonic fire and the yin-yang million spirit demonic fire set off together and advanced side by side, transforming the chaotic xian veins together. Then, the pain of the third move was several times more than the previous two moves combined. However, Yang Dingtian could no longer feel it. Because this pain had exceeded the limit, causing Yang Dingtian's nerves to temporarily fall into numbness. He could no longer feel anything. This body did not seem to be his at all. The demon spirit demonic fire and the yin-yang million spirit demonic fire, these two flames transformed Yang Dingtian's xian veins inch by inch. The transformation of Yang Dingtian's xian veins this time was really too terrifying and painful. So much so that the energy of Shiwu Piaoling had no choice but to follow the two xian flames and protect Yang Dingtian's xian veins inch by inch. Otherwise, he was really worried that Yang Dingtian would be smashed to pieces and die. However, for Yang Dingtian, it was better than the first and second moves. Because the pain had exceeded the range of the human body, he was already numb. Because of this, Shiwu Piaoyan had to protect him. He could not feel the pain and danger. That was it. After an unknown period of time, the transformation was completed. The third move, Yin and Yang, was completed. The fourth stage of the pig-slaying swordsmanship, the Great Yin-Yang Scripture, was officially completed. After the cultivation, Yang Dingtian did not directly wake up to see how many levels he had broken through. Instead, he was still in the illusion. He asked Shiwu Piaoyan to transfer the code of the second half of the fourth stage into his mind for him to study and study. As a result, Shiwu Piaoyan was shocked again. 10,000 years ago, he began to touch the peak of the martial arts civilization. He did not expect that now another person had entered the realm of gods. Therefore, he engraved the code of the second half of the pig-slaying swordsmanship into Yang Dingtian's mind. In the end, when Shiwu Piaoyan was about to disappear, Yang Dingtian asked, "Senior Shiwu, where are you going after leaving the Mermaid Empire?" Shiwu Piaoyan said, "Son, I have some gains in the Mermaid Empire. I have even roughly guessed the location of the Naga Empire. Next, I may go to the Naga Empire." The Naga Empire? Yang Dingtian was shocked. Where is it? In the chaotic world, but also not in the chaotic world. Shiwu Piaoyan said, "If you want to get there, you may need to tear the space." Space travel is also the direction of the fifth stage of the pig-slaying swordsmanship. Tear the space, space travel. Suddenly, Yang Dingtian was completely stunned. A martial arts scroll had reached such a terrifying and profound level. Chapter 629. Of course, tearing space or traveling through space is too difficult. At present, this field is not only for me, but also for the whole world I live in. So to complete the writing of the fifth stage of the pig-killing swordsmanship, it will take at least decades, or even hundreds of years, or even a lifetime, Shiwu Piaoyan said. Yang Dingtian asked, "Then when you left the Mermaid Empire, did you find a breakthrough point?" "There is a breakthrough point," Shiwu Piaoyan said. "I found a kind of void beast that can disappear in an instant and then appear a few miles away." Yang Dingtian said, "This may be a kind of teleportation technique. The demonic spirit beasts in our world can also do it. I know the kind of demonic spirit beast you're talking about. Its teleportation is relatively simple. It is just the repulsion and ejection of energy. In essence, it is still a kind of straight-line movement, but its speed is extremely fast. It gives people the feeling that it is teleportation. Shiwu Piaoyan said, but I have seen that kind of void beast. It can travel through space. Of course, this is only my breakthrough point. I need a very, very long time to analyze its principles and then write it into a secret book. It also depends on whether this principle is suitable for humans. So in order to complete this great cause, I may need to extend my life and live as long as possible. That is to say, before going to the Naga Empire, you will write down the 5th stage of the pig-killing swordsmanship? Yang Dingtian asked. To be precise, I will write down the pig-killing swordsmanship first before going to the Naga Empire. I can only hope that the end of the world has not come by then, Shiwu Piaoyan said. If you write down the 5th stage of the pig-killing swordsmanship, where should I find it? Yang Dingtian asked. Shiwu Piaoyan sighed and said, Sorry, child, I really don't know about this. But I am sure that if I write down the 5th stage of the pig-killing swordsmanship, if you learn it, then there is no doubt that you will stand at the top of your world. Also, if I really write down the 5th stage of the pig-killing swordsmanship, I will definitely let the hidden sect you mentioned before pass on. Alright, it's time for me to disappear. Shiwu Piaoyan suddenly blinked and said, There is a Naga woman in your mind. She seems to have some kind of energy that allows her to give birth to Naga. After that, Shiwu Piaoyan disappeared. His last words gave Yang Dingtian a fright. Yang Dingtian shuddered, and then suddenly woke up. He lowered his head to look. He was startled. Did he have to be so pitiful? His 2 hands were like chicken feet, thin, dry, and riddled with scars. Looking at his own body, he was no better than a bag of bones. Most importantly, his entire body was riddled with wounds, as if he had been slashed 1,000 times. The second half of the 4th stage was simply too terrifying, torturing him to such an extent. Then, Yang Dingtian operated his profound qi to see what kind of breakthrough he had made in his cultivation. Then, when Yang Dingtian condensed his sea of qi, he found that it was completely empty, and all his profound qi had been consumed. Therefore, Yang Dingtian had to start breathing profound qi under the profound qi formation. This profound qi formation was indeed the most powerful and advanced profound qi formation in the chaotic world. Its effect was nearly twice that of the Xian Tian sect, Qin City, and Yin-Yang school. Therefore, at present, the profound qi formation of the Xian Tian sect and Yin-Yang school had been modified to be exactly the same as the one in Shijing. This profound qi formation gathered all the profound qi within a radius of dozens of miles and poured it into Yang Dingtian's body. Although it was far less than the secret realm, it was completely different from ordinary cultivation. It could be said that for ordinary people, breathing profound qi in the profound qi formation for 2 hours was equivalent to more than 10 hours outside. To Yang Dingtian, the efficiency was so high that it was frightening. Countless profound qi poured into his sea of qi like a tide. Yang Dingtian's originally thin body gradually became strong and plump, and the scars on the mountain also gradually disappeared. 20 hours later, Yang Dingtian's qi vessel was completely filled, and it had started to expand and expand. Boom! Yang Dingtian's mind was in a state of nothingness, and his entire divine sense was completely blank. Unsurprisingly, he directly broke through from a 6-star 9th-level master to a 7-star master. Then, profound qi poured in again like a tide. 20 hours later, Yang Dingtian's profound qi filled his sea of qi again. His entire sea of qi began to expand again. Boom! After a moment of nothingness, Yang Dingtian's cultivation broke through again, and he became an 8-star master. This made Yang Dingtian very surprised, because when he broke through to the 8-star master, he was very, very decisive, without any sloppiness. There was no doubt that the 2 profound fires and the energy of the Shiwu Piaoyan had completely transformed Yang Dingtian's profound veins and sea of qi, and it directly created enough space for his sea of qi to break through. Why was it like this? The reason was very simple. Ordinary cultivation was divided into two parts, one was the trial, and the other was the profound chi absorption. The trial was to expand the space of the profound veins and sea of chi, and the profound chi absorption was to fill these spaces with profound chi. And the two profound fires, together with the yin and yang energy, transformed Yang Dingtian's profound veins. There was no doubt that it was an incomparably huge tempering, tormenting Yang Dingtian to the point where he could neither live nor die. It was more cruel and effective than fighting 100 or 1,000 times. Therefore, this was equivalent to an extremely terrifying trial. If it were not for the protection of the Shuwu Piaoyan's energy, Yang Dingtian's 9 yang profound veins would not have been able to hold on. Therefore, the baptism of the two profound fires had brought a huge space to Yang Dingtian's profound veins and sea of qi. After breaking through to the 8-star master, Yang Dingtian continued the profound qi absorption. After a full 30 hours, Yang Dingtian's sea of qi expanded violently again. However, this time, it was obviously not as decisive as the previous 2 times, and it was already a little insufficient. Yang Dingtian gritted his teeth and encouraged himself. I must pass. As long as I pass this time, I will still have room after the 9-star master. If I can't pass, I will stop at the 8-star master level. Boom. Finally, Yang Dingtian was not disappointed. Yang Dingtian's body and consciousness once again fell into nothingness, completely blank. His cultivation broke through again, directly to the 9-star master level. Just as Yang Dingtian had guessed, only by breaking through to the 9-star master level, there would still be room. Sure enough, his sea of qi continued to tremble slightly. 9-star first class. 9-star second class. 9-star third class. However, his sea of qi finally stopped trembling. Yang Dingtian's cultivation stopped at the 9-star third class. However, Yang Dingtian was already very, very satisfied. When Yang Dingtian walked out of the profound qi array, it was already 5 days later. In just 5 days, Yang Dingtian's face was already full of beard. At first glance, he saw an extremely graceful back view. It was Yun Zhenyu. Her back view was too unique, and Yang Dingtian could recognize her at first glance. The long dress she wore was like flowing water. It was loose, but it stuck to her alluring body. It was tight, but it did not make her entire body tight. Instead, it made her look very elegant. When he saw her, Yang Dingtian's heart skipped a beat. If Huang Yu was Yun Kailan's real daughter, then who was Yun Zhenyu in front of him? This question had been floating in Yang Dingtian's mind. You finally came out. If you did not come out, I would have hung myself. Yun Zhenyu turned around and said. She was carrying a thick stack of things in her hands. Then, she saw that Yang Dingtian was completely naked. She rolled her eyes at him and blushed. You are like this. Don't you want to have another concubine in the Valley of Cloud Heaven City? Yang Dingtian smiled embarrassedly and walked outside to wash up in the spring. Then, he asked Yun Zhenyu to bring him a robe. After putting it on, Yang Dingtian asked Yun Zhenyu, Zhenyu, when did you leave your master, Mi Dai Shi Tai? Yun Zhenyu thought for a while and said, about 2 years. Of course, I waited for my master in the valley for a long time. I left the valley about a year ago. Yang Dingtian looked at her intensely, hoping to find some clues from her face. You are looking at me like this. Are you really not going to marry me? Yun Zhenyu said angrily. Yang Dingtian smiled. You rushed over from the central continent to find me. What's the matter? Did you learn the pig-slaying swordsmanship smoothly? Yun Zhenyu asked. Very smoothly. Yang Dingtian said. Our newspaper has already launched the final attack on the 7 refined lane. Yun Zhenyu said, according to the top-secret report, we have already destroyed many brothels and welfare centers in the 7 refined lane. They are full of evil. Moreover, our team has already entered Sky Demon City to conduct the final investigation on the human trafficking center of the 7 refined lane. The 7 Refined Lane is now notorious. It is smellier than a latrine and dirtier than a brothel. Did the 7 Refined Lane not retaliate? Yang Dingtian asked. Of course they retaliated. Yun Zhenu said, they don't even need to put on an act. They are directly slandering and attacking you. The content is already unbearable to the ears. However, the influence of our chaos times is too great. The 7 Refined Lane's small retaliation is like a small wave. It cannot withstand a single blow. They were directly crushed by our monstrous waves. How is the chaos times now? Yang Dingtian asked. We have already achieved unbelievable results. The power of public opinion is extremely strong. Our current enemies have no way of retaliating in the battle of public opinion. Yun Zhenu said, our authority and authenticity have allowed the circulation of the chaos times to exceed 5 million points. Because of the lack of spiritual entertainment, at least 20 million people see our newspaper directly every time. Hundreds of millions of people receive our news indirectly. Therefore, in the battle of public opinion, it is a one-sided massacre. Good. Yang Dingtian said, we will return to the central continent now and announce the death penalty of the 7 Refined Lane. Those who should be captured will be executed. Those who should be executed will be executed. Yes. Yun Zhenu said. Chapter 631. It had been almost 2 months since the first issue of the Chaos Times was published. In the chaos world, where one's mind was extremely empty, the effect of this newspaper was explosive. Because of the Council of Light's powerful content and delivery ability, this newspaper had covered the entire world in just over a month. Until now, there were almost 1,000 demon vulture army that were responsible for the delivery of the Chaos Times. Almost all of the elites in the chaos world were reading this newspaper. In addition, the elites had infiltrated the ordinary people, so this newspaper was almost omnipresent in the chaos world. Of course, the key was that because of Yang Dingtian's high control, the newspaper's content was absolutely true, authoritative, and even serious. That's right, even if it involved gossip, it was still serious. Because the first group of people in the chaos world was the upper echelons of the chaos world, so they could easily know whether the content was true or not. They could even instinctively feel it. This authenticity would gradually spread through their mouths, allowing this authority to spread in the most solid way. Of course, the most fundamental reason was that the Council of Light was still relatively clean. It was especially so for Yang Dingtian. Everything that he did could be said to be upright and clean. So much so that the authority and authenticity of this newspaper was basically stepping on Yang Dingtian's head. Because every time they wanted to dig up dark history, the first person to dig up was Yang Dingtian, and the second was Qin Wanqiu and the other big shots. Because Yang Dingtian's background was clean, in addition to Qin Wanqiu's ambitious nature, he did not care. Therefore, the policy of wanting to blacken the black first was the most powerful. Qin Wanqiu had killed his own father and made him into a war demon puppet, so what else could not be exposed? The most exaggerated thing was that Yang Dingtian had pretended to be Ning Yu and tricked Wu Maji and Ning Wuming, and then destroyed the Autumn Water Sword sect. Among them, Yang Dingtian and Qin Wanqiu had secretly colluded. This top secret had been compiled into gossip. Of course, when this article was written, Yun Zhenu and Song Lihua, who had participated in the review, were so scared that they broke out in cold sweat. Who was the one who wrote this article? How could he be so fierce? And he actually knew so much inside information? In the end, he had no choice but to personally deliver the manuscript to Qin Wanqiu. After Qin Wanqiu saw it, he didn't dare to make a decision. At that time, Yang Dingtian wasn't there either. Later on, it was Dongfang Minmi who personally came over to read the draft and decided to publish it. In fact, after this gossip was published, the sensation it caused was explosive. Many people were scared out of their wits. They even suspected that this newspaper was organized by the Council of Light. Could it be that it was organized by Wu Yuming? Why would it specifically attack and smear Yang Dingtian's reputation? In fact, there was a reason why this 8 trigrams had appeared. That was because Wu Yuming was ready to further discredit and spread rumors about Yang Dingtian. Of course, it was not completely a rumor. However, the content was undoubtedly shocking and exaggerated. It was about how Yang Dingtian had colluded with Wu Maji in evil ways. In the end, the Council of Light struck first and directly exposed this matter. In fact, after this gossip was published, the circulation of the newspaper increased by 30%. Then, in the next issue of the newspaper, they immediately followed up. They directly wrote about the secret of Ning Fu and Wu Maji. They wrote about the marriage of Ning clan's young master Ning Fu and Wu Maji, their love and hate conflict, and then Ning Fu's death for Wu Maji. Then, Ning Fu's evil ways, Ning Fu's framing of Dongfang Bingling, and finally, Ning Fu's entrusting of the Ning clan and Wu Maji to Yang Dingtian. In this secret story of a few thousand words, it was absolutely true and even explicit. It included how Ning Fu had asked Yang Dingtian to impersonate him to save the Ning clan and leave behind descendants. Then, the next issue of the newspaper. It was about how Yang Dingtian had impersonated Ning Fu and went to the Ning clan with Wu Maji to save Kuei Si and Duan Ruyan. Here, they used the spring and autumn brush technique. Although it was not written clearly, it was revealed that Yang Dingtian had impersonated Ning Fu and his relationship with Wu Maji was no longer pure. Therefore, Wu Yuming had not started to spread rumors about Yang Dingtian. The Council of Light had already taken the initiative to expose it. In fact, after this gossip was published, the entire chaotic mainland's controversy about Yang Dingtian reached its peak. Many people felt that Yang Dingtian was too much of a scumbag. He had actually impersonated someone else's husband and cheated Wu Maji's feelings. However, no one doubted the authenticity of this gossip. Similarly, no one doubted the authenticity of Yang Dingtian. After tens of thousands of words of exposing Yang Dingtian, a firm, unyielding, selfless and flawed Yang Dingtian appeared in front of everyone. Everyone had the same impression of Yang Dingtian. This person was absolutely authentic. He kept his promises. And he was selfless and bright. However, this person was also a little fickle and soft-hearted. Sometimes, he even seemed a little naive. However, at the end of the day, there was no longer any controversy about this person's righteousness. There was also no controversy about this person's determination to fight evil ways. This was the most important thing to Yang Dingtian. He did not care about his personal reputation. He was not like Wu Yuming. He did not need to care so much about his reputation. Therefore, in the Chaos Times team, there was a saying that was very correct. That was, their newspaper had risen to its current position by stepping on sect leader Yang Dingtian's head. Although the newspaper's influence was increasing every day, everyone had a common understanding. When it was time to attract attention and eyeballs, it was very simple. It was sect leader Black. When this newspaper appeared, it immediately attracted Wu Yoming's attention. She could see Yang Dingtian's sinister intentions at a glance. That was to fight for the right to public opinion. Public opinion and fame were Wu Yoming's unique weapons. Therefore, in terms of reputation, she cared a lot about her reputation. Her supreme reputation also made her successful in every endeavor. Therefore, when the newspaper appeared, she felt uneasy. She desperately tried to stop it, desperately trying to find a loophole in the newspaper. Judging others by their own standards, she felt that Yang Dingtian would definitely use this newspaper to promote herself and deify herself, to smear Wu Yoming's reputation. Therefore, she had prepared countless pieces of information to slap his face. In the end, when the newspaper appeared, Wu Yoming's face darkened. Fuck. Yang Dingtian, you're really ruthless. You can really fucking bear to smear yourself. And the other thing she was worried about did not happen. The entire newspaper did not mention Wu Yuming at all, let alone smear her. Therefore, Wu Yuming prepared countless pieces of information to attack Yang Dingtian. In the end, she realized that there was no use at all. The newspaper was full of information to smear Yang Dingtian. Then, when the newspaper gradually began to expose the 7 refined lane, Wu Yuming felt completely uneasy. The 7 refined lane was currently the most loyal force in Zhongzhou state. Moreover, the 7 refined lane had unparalleled uniqueness and the ability to fight against public opinion. Next, every issue of the Chaos Times would expose the 7 refined lane while slandering Yang Dingtian. The way they slandered Yang Dingtian was absolutely ruthless and explicit. On the other hand, the way they exposed the 7 refined lane was very careful. Everyone who read the article felt that. Fuck, the 7 refined lane was definitely more than that. Just like that, in the face of irrefutable evidence. The hundreds of brothels opened by the 7 refined lane were exposed one after another. Of course, the result of being exposed was that the business of these hundreds of brothels was unprecedentedly good. Even if he could not sleep with the ladies of the 7 refined lane, he could sleep with the ladies of the 7 refined lane. Then, the fact that the 7 refined lane groomed stunning beauties and sent them to various forces as concubines was also exposed. It was still the same principle as before. Song Shao, Qin Wanqiu, Qiu Wanjie, and the other big shots of the Council of Light were all on the list and had taken in the beauties of the 7 refined lane. At this point, the reputation of the 7 refined lane was on the verge of collapse. At least, it was no longer admired by people. When people talked about the 7 refined lane, their eyes revealed a trace of wretchedness. If these things were said before, it was just skin shedding. Then the following content was purely skin shedding and bone shedding. The secret news revealed that many of the orphans of the 7 refined lane were extremely filthy and evil. Human trafficking, secretly grooming prostitutes, and transporting prostitutes. When they saw beautiful children, they poisoned their parents and turned them into orphans. They even secretly poisoned and killed disobedient children and other evils. A total of tens of thousands of words and dozens of pictures were used to report the entire scandal of the 7 refined lane. Once this report appeared, it was completely like a nuclear bomb. It instantly caused an uproar in the world. Again, as long as it was the truth, there would be countless clues. For those big shots who received prostitutes and beauties, they would be able to find the truth after some deliberation. Also, the deaths of some beautiful children's parents were originally fishy. With this report and some slight connections, the truth could be found very quickly. In just a few days, the 7 refined lane had turned from paradise to hell. There were too many ugly things in this world. However, such filth and ugliness were still rare in this world. Especially when the 7 refined lane's previous image was so beautiful and moving. This instant contrast almost penetrated everyone's heart. In an instant, countless people's hatred for the 7 refined lane had reached the extreme. The 7 refined lane's thunderbolt blood was still performing. However, it was no longer as popular as before. The audience was getting fewer and fewer. Towards the end, there were even people who threw rotten eggs and carrots on the stage. Seeing such a situation, Ling Wu felt as if a knife was being twisted in her heart. This was her career. This career made her popular in the entire central continent, made her famous in the world, and made her be sought after by countless people. There were many women in this world who could resist the temptation of power and money. However, they absolutely couldn't resist the temptation of fame. Therefore, during that period of time, Ling Wu's feelings were very similar to Yun Kailan's. She felt as if she was floating in the clouds. She felt that she had grasped such a powerful force that she could beat Yang Dingtian to the point where he didn't have the slightest strength to fight back. However, this kind of happiness was really too short-lived. Almost in the blink of an eye, Ling Wu fell from heaven to hell. One day, when she was still clenching her teeth and performing, suddenly, there was a foul stench and a handful of dog feces was directly smashed on her face. Get off! After that, she almost spat out a mouthful of blood. Following that, she stopped performing and shut herself in. As for her father, Ling Zhong, he bid farewell to her completely and returned to the castle in the west region. In the face of Yang Dingtian's series of public opinion attacks, Wu Yuming and the Seven Refined Lane were practically powerless to fight back. In fact, they had also carried out many counterattacks. The smearing and slandering of Yang Dingtian was no longer an indirect act. Instead, it was a blatant rumor that tarnished him. For example, when Yang Dingtian tried to humiliate Ling Wu swore to die and refused. For example, when Yang Dingtian and his mistress were unclean, and so on. When Yang Dingtian colluded with others in evil ways, humiliated Qin Chichi, and so on. Furthermore, they had even pasted a shocking number of posters. In the central capital, posters that slandered and smeared Yang Dingtian's name were pasted on every street. After that, they were specially responsible for sending people to guard the posters and wait for the army of the Council of Light to come and capture and tear the posters apart. However, the contents of these posters were really too exaggerated. Anything that had lost its true reliance would not be able to withstand scrutiny after a long time. Especially when all the people had already been baptized by the gossip and secret news of the Chaos Times, they basically knew the truth. After comparing, it was too easy to distinguish which was true and which was false. One of the hooligans saw a large poster and said a sentence that revealed the true meaning of the name. Yang Dingtian humiliated Ling Wu swore to die and refused. Don't talk nonsense. If Yang Dingtian was willing to marry her, she would have already knelt in front of Yang Dingtian. How would she still have the time to put on an act? Sometimes, a lie would become the truth after being told 100 times. However, if it was told 1,000 times, it would instead become a lie. For example, the matter of Yang Dingtian committing adultery with Madame Shimen. Countless people used this to attack Yang Dingtian, but Yang Dingtian had never been able to distinguish between them. In fact, in the crusade, this matter was also used to convict Yang Dingtian. In the end, Yun Kailan, who was later convicted, became Yang Dingtian's loyal subordinate. Zhu Qingzhu also directly withdrew from the crusade. When someone used his mistress to talk about this matter, no one believed it anymore. This was because after they had seen the secret news of Yang Dingtian, they could faintly feel what kind of person Yang Dingtian was. They felt that if Yang Dingtian had really done it, he would definitely dare to admit it. This was because Yang Dingtian was even willing to admit to colluding with others in evil ways and impersonating Ninghua to steal Wu Maji. There was nothing more glorious than committing adultery with Madame Shimen. Just like this, even though Wu Yuming had taken a series of counterattacks, he realized that it was completely useless. Faced with Yang Dingtian's public opinion, Wu Yuming and the Seven Refined Lane's counterattacks were completely like a mantis trying to stop a chariot. To Wu Yuming, this was a fatal blow. He was too proud. He felt that he was nobler, stronger, and wiser than Yang Dingtian by countless times. He had always felt that Yang Dingtian was an ant-like figure. Now, faced with Yang Dingtian's open and above-board move, he was practically powerless to retaliate. This was simply too big a blow to his pride. Later on, he wanted to give Yang Dingtian a taste of his own medicine. Since Yang Dingtian started a newspaper, he would also start a newspaper. At most, he would send out thousands of black vultures to deliver the news. In the end, when he was about to start a newspaper, he realized that he didn't have that much paper at all. He gritted his teeth and directly used the parchment paper. He used almost all the parchment paper in his inventory and directly found talents from the Seven Refined Lane. He let Ling Wu, who understood Yang Dingtian the most, be the main writer. Under the efforts of hundreds of women from the Seven Refined Lane, the first issue of Wu Yoming's Tiando League Times was published. The layout of the newspaper was exactly the same as the Chaos Times. Half of the news was factual, the remaining quarter was gossip, and the other quarter was world secrets. However, their aim was very, very strong. All the content had only one purpose, and that was to smear Yang Dingtian's reputation, whitewash the 7 refined lane, and deify Wu Yuming. Of course, in order to attract the public, Wu Yuming also learned from Yang Dingtian and exposed his own gossip to attract attention. Therefore, in the gossip, there were secrets about Wu Yuming and the Vulture Palace. As for the circulation of the Tiando League Times, Wu Yuming was rich and overbearing. He directly distributed 300,000 copies, which meant that he had to slaughter 300,000 sheep. When the newspaper was published. Originally, Qin Wanchou had already mobilized tens of thousands of troops and was prepared to directly raid Wu Yoming's printing base and confiscate the newspaper. He had already found a reason. We don't even dare to use the name of the Tiando League. Who gave you the authority to directly use the name of the Tiando League, Wu Yuming? As for Wu Yuming, she directly mobilized the armed forces of the 7 refined lane and the Vulture Palace to guard outside the printing base. The battle between the two sides was on the verge of breaking out. In the end, after Dongfang Minmi and Qin Wanchou received the first copy of the newspaper and finished reading it, they directly withdrew the tens of thousands of troops. Wu Yuming was secretly pleased. In the end, Dongfang Minmi and Qin Wanchou did not dare to fall out with the Vulture Palace and use force, after the Black Vulture sent Wu Yoming's Tiando League Times to the entire Zhongzhou state. Wu Yuming eagerly waited for the newspaper's response. The response he received was very strong. The first issue of the Tiando League Times was almost completely snatched up as soon as it was delivered. Wu Yuming was instantly ecstatic. He felt that he was about to regain the battle of public opinion. In addition, the leaders who were close to Wu Yuming flattered him. They were especially interested in the article about the secret of Wu Yuming and the Vulture Palace. Wu Yuming immediately felt that victory was in his hands. In fact, the people were extremely eager for the Tiando League Times. Why? There was no other reason. It was because their appetites were all hooked by the Chaos Times. The Chaos Times was only published once every 7 days. At this time, Wu Yoming's Tiando League Times came out just right to fill the gap. Moreover, Wu Yuming and Yang Dingtian were famous. Of course, they were looking forward to it. After they got the newspaper, they looked at the news and current affairs section. Most of the people felt that the article about the internal affairs of the Western continent was a little nonsensical because it was not very serious and liked to stir up emotions. However, they still read it with relish. Then, they saw the article about the 7 refined lane's innocence. It was all about how benevolent the 7 refined lane was and how bright it was. Then, it refuted that Yang Dingtian had attacked the 7 refined lane for ulterior motives. At this time, the people reading the newspaper were a little impatient. Fuck, the whole article was excuses and praises. What was the point of this? Tens of thousands of words were all stirring up emotions. There was no real content. When it came to the gossip, especially the secret of Wu Yuming and the Vulture Palace, their eyes lit up. They felt that they could see the secrets of celebrities. When they took a closer look, they were instantly furious. Fuck you, Wu Yuming. What kind of bullshit secret is this? You're clearly showing off your love. What are you showing off for? Fuck, you're portraying yourself as a Casanova. What's the meaning of this? What's there to be proud of? Look at the Chaos Times. That's what a secret is. Yang Dingtian was raped by the Demoness. Yang Dingtian pretended to be Ning Hua and slept with Wu Maji. That's what a secret is. It's so immersive. Therefore, the people who bought the newspaper threw the Tiando League Times aside and cursed, stupid Wu Yuming. At that time, after Wu Yoming's first victory, she was itching. Just listening to the reports was not enough, so she and the Vulture disguised themselves and planned to go incognito. Vulture was also very excited. She had high expectations for the article, The Secret of Wu Yuming and the Vulture Palace. She really wanted to tell the world about her and Wu Yoming's love and let the world be jealous and envious. Therefore, she held Wu Yoming's arm and walked on the street with mixed feelings. Excitement and anticipation. She wanted to hide her identity, but she also wanted everyone to recognize her. Walking on the bustling streets of Zhongjing, Vulture said softly, "Husband, you're so amazing. You completely suppressed Yang Dingtian's limelight. It's just that you wrote about us. How embarrassing." Yang Dingtian's move was just a small trick. Wu Yuming smiled and said, "Our love is sweet and bright. It's full of positive energy. It can inspire the young people of the world. I'm really looking forward to it. What will they think after reading the newspaper?" Vulture said. "Fuck, Wu Yuming, who the hell is he? What kind of secret is this? Why is he showing off? Why is he pretending to be sweet?" At this time, a young man who practiced martial arts scolded, "Yang Dingtian didn't show off when he married the peerless beauty Shimen Yanyan. Wu Yuming married a woman with no breasts and no buttocks, and he's showing off. Fuck, what kind of bullshit is this newspaper writing? This Wu Yuming is an idiot. Showing off their love, who would want to see it? I'm not interested in writing about him and Vulture. It's more interesting to write about him and First Madam Gongsun. Look at this paragraph. Before I married you, maybe it was because of the Vulture Palace. But after I married you, I could give up everything for you. Isn't it disgusting? I'm going to vomit." This paragraph was specially carved by Wu Yuming, and he was very proud of it. After hearing these words, Wu Yuming and Vulture's expressions changed dramatically. Chapter 632. In Wu Yoming's heart, he was a high and mighty figure. To the common people, he was like an immortal. In order to suppress Yang Dingtian, he had bent down and shared his secrets with the common people. Not only was he not admired, but he was also insulted by a martial artist. It was ridiculous. Wu Yuming felt that his chest was about to explode. Vulture's face was completely pale. He almost couldn't help but pull out his sword and kill all the ants in front of him. Wu Yuming held Vulture's hand and said softly, "These common people and martial artists are ignorant. Don't lower yourself to their level." Vulture thought for a while and nodded, "That's right. It's not our newspaper that has a problem. It's these people who are too lowly and vulgar. They don't know how to appreciate it." Then, Wu Yuming and Vulture left. The two of them walked into a restaurant. The distribution points of Chaos Times and Tiando League Times were basically teahouses, restaurants, and even brothels. Wu Yuming walked to the front of the luxurious counter and asked, "Excuse me, sir. Do you still have Tiando League Times?" The counter owner looked up and smiled, "I'm sorry, sir. It was sold out early in the morning." Wu Yuming was happy and said, "Oh, then it seems that Tiando League Times is very popular. It's just taking advantage of the limelight." The counter owner poked Wu Yoming's heart and said, "It's because Chaos Times opened everyone's eyes. That's why Tiando League Times is so popular." Wu Yoming's heart felt stifled as he said with a smile, "In my opinion, the Heavenly Tao Union Times is of a much higher standard. It's not impossible for it to overtake the Primal Chaos Times." "Ha!" The owner said, "These words are too childish. I have already read the Heavenly Tao Union Times. The content is exaggerated and hypocritical. They like to talk big and point at the world. They are high and mighty." From the inside out, he exuded a vulgar narcissism. On the other hand, the Chaos Times is serious, profound, and authoritative. The two are completely different. Wu Yuming didn't say anything, but Vulture couldn't help but say, "I don't think so. It's just that some people don't understand the articles in the Tiando League Times. When I read The Secret of Wu Yuming and the Vulture, it was very touching and beautiful." "Ha ha ha." The owner said, "Maybe only an ignorant woman would think that way. The relationship between Mr. Wu Yuming and Miss Vulture may be very touching, but what does it have to do with others? This kind of sweet talk in the house was published in the newspapers and printed in the eyes of others. It was no longer exaggerated, but laughable. The peddlers can't find any excitement in this newspaper. Mid-level fighters can't find the excitement of participating in the current affairs. High-level fighters can't find the world's network. No matter if it's the upper, middle, or lower class people, there's no redeeming feature. In my opinion, the next issue can only be sent to the latrine. At this moment, Wu Yuming wanted to pull out his sword and kill someone. This owner was the most typical upper-middle-class person in society. Although he didn't swear, his mouth was even more vicious. Wu Yuming was filled with anger. He directly left with Vulture. While walking on the street, he suddenly heard someone shouting, "Buy the Itaiando League Times at a high price. Buy the Itaiando League Times at a high price." Wu Yuming's heart changed again. He found the person and said, "You want to buy the Itaiando League Times?" "Yes, do you have it?" The young man in silk clothes looked at him warmly. Wu Yuming said, "I don't have it now, but there will be a lot in the future. Give it to me, I want it all." The young man in silk clothes said, "Remember, give me as many copies as you have. Sell it at the original price of 2 silver coins. I will add 1 silver coin." Wu Yuming was overjoyed and said, Of course, of course. Only this brother has a discerning eye. May I ask if you want so many copies of the Itaiando League Times for your family and the people to read?" The enthusiastic young man was stunned and then said awkwardly, That's not it. Although the content of the Itaiando League Times is nonsense, it is printed on the best parchment. I want to buy it to make clothes, or to cover the windows. I even want to wash it clean and sell it to the nobles. It is also excellent. Suddenly, Wu Yoming's chest tightened and he almost vomited blood. Then his hand tightened. He really couldn't help but pull out his sword and cut the person in front of him into pieces. Just like that, Wu Yoming's Itaiando League Times was only published for 1 issue and then completely ended. Moreover, no one in the 7 Refined Lane dared to mention the Itaiando League Times again. Following that, a few people in Zhongjing suddenly died mysteriously. A foot soldier was cut into 8 pieces. A restaurant owner had his eyes gouged out and his throat slit. There was also a vagabond who had his tongue cut out, eyes gouged out, and 4 limbs broken. In this battle of public opinion, the reason why Wu Yuming lost so badly was because he was too ungrounded, too arrogant, too proud, and too protective of his own reputation. Yang Dingtian, on the other hand, was baptized by countless gossip and news back on Earth. He could almost grasp the pulse of the situation in an instant. Moreover, how ruthlessly had he slandered her? How could he bear to lay a hand on her? Therefore, the power of the 2 newspapers was incomparable. Of course, the failure of Wu Yoming's newspaper was more than 10 days ago. And 3 days ago, Chaos Times revealed their true intentions. They used an entire page to report on the extreme evil of the 7 Refined Lane. Almost instantly, the 7 Refined Lane was trampled into hell. No one knew if someone instigated it or if it was spontaneous. Suddenly, more and more people gathered outside the 7 Refined Lane. There were also more and more people throwing things and stones into the 7 Refined Lane. In an instant, the originally fragrant 7 Refined Lane was suddenly filled with a foul stench. The 7 Refined Lane's doors were tightly shut as they tried to wait for the storm to pass. However, more and more people were gathering outside the 7 Refined Lane's entrance. Moreover, they had already started smashing and robbing. First, Madame Gongsun knelt in front of Wu Yuming. Yang Dingtian is using his position to avenge a private grudge. He is trying to exterminate the 7 Refined Lane. Sect leader, please help us. Wu Yuming sat on the chair with a gloomy expression. He didn't know much about whether the 7 Refined Lane was clean or not. However, after reading Chaos Times, he knew that the contents were true. Therefore, he really didn't want to get involved with the 7 Refined Lane. He didn't want to tarnish his reputation. After all, his reputation was very precious. However, the 7 Refined Lane was his biggest and most loyal supporter in Zhongzhou. If he didn't help them, the remaining fence-sitters would undoubtedly abandon Wu Yuming and join Yang Dingtian. In the Tiando League, Wu Yuming didn't have many supporters to begin with. Taking a deep breath, Wu Yuming said, "Don't worry, I won't sit by and watch. Lingxi will help you get justice." In the end, Wu Yuming chose to compromise. He wouldn't get involved personally, but he wouldn't leave them in the lurch either. Lingxi's expression turned cold. "Don't worry, leave this to me." Then, Lingxi walked into the inner chamber and said to First Madame Gongsun, pavilion leader, "Let's discuss this." That night, Wu Yuming brought Vulture to the Vulture Palace to pay a visit to Wu Lingxi. On one hand, he wanted to report the unfavorable situation in Zhongzhou. On the other hand, he wanted to avoid the impending trouble. Very soon, Lingxi and First Madame Gongsun retaliated. Yang Dingtian had just returned to Zhongzhou with Yun Zhenu. Before he gave the order to encircle the 7 Refined Lane, he received the 7 Refined Lane's provocation and retaliation. First Madame Gongsun and 6th Madame Gongsun carried 13 corpses and knelt in front of Zhongzhou's main hall. 6th Madame Gongsun held up a sign that read, "Blood for blood, clear my name." Using public office to avenge private grudges, heaven and earth turned upside down. Meanwhile, young Master Lingxi from the Vulture Palace led several hundred leaders from the Netherworld Sea who were close to the Vulture Palace and tens of thousands of people to surround Zhongzhou's main hall. He wanted Yang Dingtian to give justice to the 7 Refined Lane. The 7 Refined Lane's methods were vicious enough. They sacrificed 13 corpses. Second Madame Gongsun had deep bloodstains on her neck. She had hanged herself to death. On her corpse was written, "I used my death to prove my innocence." Fifth Madame Gongsun's face was pale. She was covered in white gauze and there was a sword pierced through her chest. On her snow-white clothes were written with fresh blood, "Yang Dingtian, clear my 7 Refined Lane's name." Seventh Madame Gongsun's head burst open and she died. On her back was also written with fresh blood, "Yang Dingtian, clear my name." Second Madame Gongsun, 5th Madame and 7th Madame all died a violent death. Following that, the 10 golden flowers of the 7 Refined Lane all drowned themselves in the water. Their bodies were completely naked. They used their deaths to prove their innocence. Lingxi was indeed vicious. He was extremely vicious and merciless. He used 13 fresh lives to steal away the hearts of the people in an instant. He stole away all their sympathy. The most difficult thing in all of history was death. The people of the 7 Refined Lane were not even afraid of death. How could they commit such evil deeds? When Yang Dingtian arrived, the crowd was already furious. They wanted to find the culprits who tarnished the 7 Refined Lane. They wanted to shut down the chaos times and punish all of them. When Yang Dingtian walked to the Zhong Capital Grand Hall, First Madame Gongsun immediately blocked his path. "City Lord Yang, please clear my 7 Refined Lane's name. Execute slave Yun Zhenu, Song Lihua, and the other culprits." Yang Dingtian looked at the 13 pale corpses and said coldly, "What do the deaths of these 13 people have to do with slave Yun Zhenu and Song Lihua? They were the ones who set up the chaos times under Sir Yang Dingtian's instructions. They spread rumors and slandered my 7 Refined Lane. My 7 Refined Lane values our innocence as much as our lives. Many of our sisters couldn't bear the humiliation and killed themselves." First Madame Gongsun looked at Yang Dingtian and said coldly, "Sir Yang Dingtian, if you don't give me justice, I will immediately go to the Spirit Vulture Palace and kneel down. I will immediately call for justice in the world and take back the dignity and innocence of my 7 Refined Lane at all costs. But the chaos times didn't spread rumors and slander you. Instead, it was your 7 Refined Lane who spread rumors and slandered me." Yang Dingtian said. "Evidence." First Madame Gongsun said sternly, "Sir Yang Dingtian, please show us your evidence." Otherwise, you will be executed without any sincerity. You don't deserve to be the leader of the Tiando League. Rhinoceros said coldly, Sir Yang Dingtian, if you don't show us your evidence today, we won't let this go. Unless you mobilize an army to suppress us. Otherwise, you will have to punish the Chaos Times people and clear the 7 refined lanes name. Yang Dingtian looked at the tens of thousands of people present. They were here to force him to abdicate. Almost all the forces close to the Sea of Hades and the Vulture Palace were here. When Yang Dingtian looked at these people, some of them held their heads high, but most of them lowered their heads and didn't dare to look him in the eye. Without a doubt, these people didn't want to come to Yang Dingtian either, but they were forced to come. The Vulture Palace had gathered many major forces and told them that if they didn't say anything when Yang Dingtian attacked the 7 refined lane, then when Yang Dingtian attacked them, no one would say anything. Even so, most of the major forces in the central continent chose to wait and see. They didn't come to force him to abdicate. Yang Dingtian looked at first Madame Gongsun, whose eyes were filled with viciousness. This person had already cut off all means of retreat. He had to admit that this method was ruthless. They knew that they were no match for Yang Dingtian when it came to public opinion. Therefore, they decided to fight him face to face. They wanted to force Yang Dingtian to produce evidence of the 7 refined lanes crimes, or else they would clear the 7 refined lanes name, abolish the Chaos Times, and convict everyone who ran the newspaper. This was completely a form of sophistry, a form of covert substitution of concepts. Evidence? Where could they find the most direct evidence? When the 7 refined lane killed the children, abducted the children, and killed the orphans, they didn't leave behind an echo jade. Yang Dingtian's gaze inadvertently glanced at 5th Madame Gongsun. She had an evil spirit in her body, so she couldn't die. Yang Dingtian smiled coldly and said to 1st Madame Gongsun, you want to die now? Then I'll grant you your wish. Chapter 633. Alright, let's enter the Zhongjin Grand Hall for a public trial. Everyone is allowed to enter. Instantly, Ling Shi was overjoyed. He waved his hand and said, bring them in. Then, first Madame Gongsun ordered her men to carry all 13 corpses in. The leaders of the forces who were close to the Vulture Palace and the tens of thousands of onlookers entered as well. The entire Zhongjin Grand Hall was packed to the brim. Even the ground was filled with people. There were a few thousand of them. The square outside the Grand Hall was also filled with people. After hearing the news, more and more people came to watch the trial. Therefore, the entire public trial was watched by tens of thousands of people. In order to prevent a counterattack before death, Yang Dingtian had no choice but to mobilize the Martial Supreme Class experts. There were a total of several hundred of them. In addition, there were 2,000 men from the Devil Dragon Legion, 1,000 men from the Devil Vulture Legion, and 100,000 men from the Heaven Dao Union's Black Cavalry. If someone wanted to retaliate before their death, Yang Dingtian wouldn't mind killing all of them who were near the Spirit Vulture Palace. Yang Dingtian, Dongfang Minmi, and Zhuo Qingqi sat on the highest seats. However, there was an extra chair for Ling Shi to sit on as he was representing Wu Yuming. After all, Wu Yuming was the successor of the Yin sect and Yang Dingtian's senior brother. Although the Council of Light had never admitted it, they had never denied it in order to prevent the Tiando League from breaking apart. Therefore, the 4 of them were in charge of the trial today. First Madame Gongsun and 6th Madame Gongsun stood on the bench. As the person in charge of the newspaper, Song Lihua and Yun Zhenu also stood on the bench. This was interesting. The 4 of them on the bench were all beauties. First Madame Gongsun bowed and nodded at the highest seats. Then, she nodded at the thousands of onlookers and said loudly, as everyone knows, the 7 refined lane has been benevolent and kind for hundreds of years. Although we belong to the Tiando League, we have never fought for power or profit. All the powers in the world have their own territories, but my 7 refined lane doesn't have a single inch of land in Zhongjing City. All the expenses were earned by the sisters' performances. They ate and dressed simply, and the remaining money was used to help the poor and raise the orphans. However, this year, because we offended a certain big shot, we suffered a calamity. Someone instigated the chaos times to shamelessly smear and defile our 7 refined lane, causing us to fall from heaven to hell. More than 10 sisters could not bear the humiliation and committed suicide one after another. I plead for today's trial to clear the name of the 7 refined lane and bring the guilty to justice. Yang Dingtian asked, Pavilion Master Gongsun, who is the big shot you mentioned? It's you, Mr. Yang Dingtian. First Madame Gongsun shouted, it's you. You're abusing your power to take revenge. After that, First Madame Gongsun said to Ling Wu, 6th sister, tell me. Ling Wu stood up, looked towards the highest seat and said, may I ask Mr. Yang Dingtian, 52 days ago. Did you disguise yourself and come to watch my performance of Thunder and Blood? Yes, I went to watch, Yang Dingtian said. After the performance ended, did you come backstage and give me a slap? Ling Wu asked. Lingxi immediately said, 6th Madame Gongsun, don't talk nonsense. Yang Dingtian is the dignified master of the Council of Light. Why would he beat up a weak girl like you? Yang Dingtian cast a glance at Lingxi and said, that's right. I did give you a slap at that time. Ling Wu seemed to recall the humiliation that day. Her beautiful face twisted slightly as she said, then, after the slap, did you threaten me to make me beg for death? Yang Dingtian smiled and said, you've improved a lot in the 7 refined lane. You've learned the trick of taking things out of context very well. Yang Dingtian had said at that time that he would not kill her, but someone would make her beg for death. In Ling Wu's mouth, it had turned into Yang Dingtian threatening to make her suffer a fate worse than death. Ling Wu could be said to have improved a lot in reversing black and white. Let me ask you. Did you say something like that? You dare to do it but don't dare to admit it. Ling Wu said coldly. I did say that, Yang Dingtian said. Ling Wu said, after that, big sister rushed in to save me. Did you threaten her to wipe the 7 refined lane off the face of this world? Yes, I did say that, Yang Dingtian said. Ling Wu bowed toward the highest seat and said, I'm done. The matter is very simple. Everything originated from Yang Dingtian's personal vengeance. He was the one who instructed the chaos times to put us to death. I feel that such a person has no qualifications to become the master of the Taekwondo League. Ling Wu, your performance earlier was very good. However, you shouldn't have said the last sentence. It's too emotional and will divert the fire. Yang Dingtian said, then let me ask you. Why did I beat you up? Why did I threaten the 7 refined lane? Ling Wu said, then only you know about it. Because the thunderbolt blood that you acted in had reversed black and white, attacked me secretly for personal gain, ruined my reputation, and viciously slandered me, Yang Dingtian said. Ling Wu sneered and said, your reputation isn't that good in the first place. Yang Dingtian said, yes, my reputation isn't that good. Do you think I can let you slander and smear my name? I'm only asking you, did thunderbolt blood invert black and white? You didn't do it, so what are you afraid of? Why are you randomly substituting in? Ling Wu said, we've already said that it's a play. It's purely fictional. It's similar and purely coincidental. We didn't mention any names. What are you afraid of? Could it be that you're so overbearing that you won't even allow others to speak? Yang Dingtian said indifferently, all right. Up to you. Lingxi said, Your Excellency Yang Dingtian, I'll take your words as admitting that you ordered the attack on the 7 refined lane. Yang Dingtian said, Your Excellency Lingxi. Please pay attention to your words. It's an instruction, not an order. It's an investigation, not an attack. Next time, speak with a clear mind. Otherwise, we'll chase you out. Lingxi's expression changed drastically. She said, Your Excellency Yang Dingtian, you're so awe-inspiring. Yang Dingtian said, let's talk about facts and seek truth from facts. Lingxi said, alright, then you admit that you ordered the Council of Light to investigate the 7 refined lane. Yes. Yang Dingtian said, I admit it. Alright. Lingxi said, may I ask Miss Yunjenu? His handsome face was filled with a slight evil smile. He looked at Yunjenu, trying to provoke her soul. After all, he had once deeply hurt Yunjenu. Yunjenu, on the other hand, was calm and indifferent. She stood there with almost no expression. Miss Yunjenu, if I remember correctly, you should be a suspect of the Evil Way's spies. How could you become Yang Dingtian's personal messenger? Lingxi said, Your Excellency Yang Dingtian, you're the leader of the Council of Light. How can you be so involved with the Evil Ways? It's really unsettling. Yang Dingtian threw a booklet and said sternly, Your Excellency Lingxi. I'll say it again. Think before you speak or I'll chase you out. Yunjenu and Madame Kuei's identities have already been proven. I've already obtained the list of the Evil Way's spies from Ning Wuming. Moreover, I have already issued an official document to prove their innocence. You haven't seen it and investigated it properly. Don't talk nonsense. If there's a next time, I'll chase you out. When had Lingxi ever been berated like this? Her heart was filled with resentment as she gritted her teeth. Subsequently, she took a deep breath and asked, Young Lady Yunjenu, is it His Excellency Yang Dingtian's instructions to set up the Primal Chaos Times? Yes. Yunjenu said directly. Who wrote the secret articles about the 7 refined lane? Lingxi asked. It's not important who wrote them. What's important is that all the articles were approved by me and Madame Song Lihua, Yunjenu said. Lingxi said, May I ask if you have any evidence to prove that the 7 refined lane opened a brothel? What evidence? Yunjenu asked. Did you find anyone from the 7 refined lane in the brothel? Lingxi asked. No, Yunjenu said. However, we have other evidence. Take it out, Lingxi said. It's not convenient now. When it's time to take it out, I'll take it out, Yunjenu said. That means you don't have it. That means you are distorting the truth. Lingxi said sternly. Also, you are accusing the 7 refined lane of sending beautiful concubines to the leaders. May I ask if you have any evidence to prove that these beautiful concubines came from the 7 refined lane? Yunjenu said, I don't have any evidence. However, this is the truth. I believe all the leaders here know this. If you don't have evidence, then it's slander. Lingxi said sternly. Lastly, you are accusing the 7 refined lane of kidnapping children, killing the children's parents, using the orphanage to engage in human trafficking? Do you have any evidence? Yunjenu looked at Yang Dingtian. Don't look at anyone. No one can protect you now, Lingxi said sternly. That means you don't have evidence. Without evidence, your Chaos Times is distorting the truth and smearing the 7 refined lane's name. You even instigated more than 10 women to commit suicide because they couldn't stand the humiliation. I will seek justice for you. Then, Lingxi stood up abruptly and said, I would like to formally request the Heavenly Law Alliance to ban and abolish the Chaos Times. I would also like to arrest Yunjenu, Song Lihua, and the entire newspaper organization. Blood for blood. Seek justice for the dead. As for Sir Yang Dingtian, you are the most indirect culprit of this incident. You used your public power to fulfill your personal grudge and caused more than 10 people to commit suicide. You have caused the 7 refined lane to be smeared and destroyed like never before. I don't think you have the right to be the leader of the Council of Light or the leader of the Tiando League. If you don't give us an explanation today, the Vulture Palace, Sea of Gloom, and the leaders here will seek justice for the dead sisters of the 7 refined lane by any means and at any cost. Yang Dingtian said, by any means and at any cost, do you mean rebellion? I'm warning Sir Yang Dingtian, don't spout nonsense. It's called rebellion, but there's no such thing as rebellion, Lingxi said. Yang Dingtian stood up slowly and looked at the crowd. He smiled and said, "This world is really strange. The 7 refined lane did not need any evidence to smear my name with the play Blood of Thunder. When the Chaos Times investigated the 7 refined lane, they needed to show evidence. The 7 refined lane did not need to pay any price for smearing my name. When the Council of Light investigated the 7 refined lane, they needed to execute a bunch of people and needed me to step down. Your 7 refined lane is really overbearing." 6th Madame Gongsun, Ling Wu said, "Sir Yang Dingtian, don't be mistaken. Our Blood of Thunder was purely fabricated and did not name anyone. Therefore, we don't need any evidence. But your Chaos Times directly named me. That requires evidence and punishment." Yang Dingtian looked at Ling Wu and smiled. "Apart from the speed of your depravity, do you feel surprised yourself?" Ling Wu's face twitched. She said, "If I don't go to hell, who will?" 1st Madame Gongsun glared at Ling Wu. She was angry that she should not have said this. Then, she said coldly, "Sir Yang Dingtian, don't talk nonsense. Let me ask you, do you have any evidence to smear my 7 refined lanes brothel, sending concubines, human trafficking, and murdering my parents?" Yang Dingtian smiled. "Don't show your disgusting smile. Let me ask you, do you have any evidence?" 1st Madame Gongsun said sternly, "If you have evidence, show it. If you don't have evidence, then give justice to my 7 refined lane. If someone deserves to be killed, then kill. If someone deserves to step down, then step down." Yang Dingtian sighed softly. "You want evidence, right? All right then, I'll give you evidence." Then, Yang Dingtian looked at 5th Madame Gongsun on the ground. He said, "Sir, evidence, don't watch the show anymore. Get up." Qin Ji coughed for a while. She covered her chest and climbed up from the ground. She said to 1st Madame Gongsun, "Elder sister, why is it so painful even with evil energy? You're really ruthless." When 1st Madame Gongsun and Lingxi saw Qin Ji get up, their expressions changed drastically. "Hey, Yang Dingtian. If I testify, will I be killed in the future?" 6th Madame Gongsun said, "If I'm going to be killed, then I won't do it. Don't worry. After the crime is confirmed, I'll kill everyone in the 7 refined lane." Yang Dingtian said. "Oh, then I don't have to worry." Qin Ji sighed. Then, she walked up with a dagger in her chest. She said to 1st Madame Gongsun, "Elder sister. I believe you know that the newspaper also said that my original identity had a deep grudge against Yang Dingtian. So, I tricked him into the dark domain to kill him. In the end, because of complicated reasons, I didn't kill him. He also sent someone to stab me with a sword, but I didn't die either. So, in your heart, I must hate him to the bone. So, you let me become 6th Madame Gongsun without worry. Actually, things like love, hate, love, these things were very difficult to describe. So, I'm sorry, but one's position determines one's head. I was sitting on his side from the start." Yang Dingtian felt a headache coming on. This crazy woman, spouting all the things she shouldn't say. Can't you say that you're doing this for the sake of justice? 1st Madame Gongsun's expression changed drastically. This Qin Ji was popular enough, vicious enough, and had a deep grudge against Yang Dingtian. That was why 1st Madame Gongsun took her as her trusted aide. But now, Qin Ji continued, because I served you well, and because I was popular enough, you gave me a lot of things to do. For example, human trafficking. For example, you sent people to kill the parents of beautiful children to create orphans. Then, you appeared as an angel and sent these children to our orphanage. Then, you killed all the children who were disobedient and found clues. You said you want evidence? I have a lot. Yang Dingtian, did you get the thing? Qin Ji asked Yang Dingtian. Yang Dingtian clapped his hands. Immediately, Zhu Hongxue came in with a big bag of recovery jade. He placed it in front of Qin Ji. Qin Ji opened the bag, took out a jade, and injected her xian qi into it. Immediately, an unbearable scene appeared on the huge screen. Qin Ji was serving First Madame Gongsun, and the beautiful and serious First Madame Gongsun was in a state of disarray. Instantly, everyone was stunned. Their eyes widened as they witnessed this unprecedented scene. First Madame Gongsun's expression changed drastically. She shouted, "Qin Ji, how dare you? Oh, I'm sorry. I took the wrong one," Qin Ji said. Then, Qin Ji took out another jade and injected her xian qi into it. Instantly, the scene became even more unbearable. It was First Madame Gongsun, serving Lingxi. This scene was beyond one's imagination. It was hard to imagine that the noble and serious First Madame Gongsun was acting like a dog. I'm so sorry. These things are too messy," Qin Ji said. Lingxi's expression changed drastically. She gripped her sword with both hands and was about to cut Qin Ji into pieces. "If you want to die, I'm more than happy to oblige," Yang Dingtian said coldly. The thousands of people present were dumbfounded when they saw this ridiculous scene. They looked at Lingxi with strange gazes. "All right, stop playing," Yang Dingtian said. All right, I'll listen to you. You're the boss." Qin Ji rolled her eyes at Yang Dingtian coquettishly. Instantly, everyone present felt a burst of ecstasy, while Yang Dingtian's scalp went numb. This crazy woman, there was probably no one in the world who could do anything to her. Soon, Qin Ji found a recovery jade. She injected her xian qi, and the image showed First Madame Gongsun and a trembling beautiful boy. First Madame Gongsun said, "Don't worry, child. I like little boys like you the most." Then, First Madame Gongsun walked over. What happened next was unprecedentedly disgusting and shameless. At this moment, everyone was looking at First Madame Gongsun as if they were looking at the most lowly whore and the most terrifying demon. I'll kill you, I'll kill you." First Madame Gongsun roared. She pulled out her sword and charged at Qin Ji. Dongfang Minmi took out a steel whip and smashed it down on her back. Pfff. First Madame Gongsun spat out a mouthful of blood and was smashed to the ground. Everyone looked at Dongfang Minmi in shock. They didn't think that a grandmaster like him would make a move. In fact, Dongfang Minmi was the angriest person present. Someone dared to twist the truth and slander his favorite disciple. He wanted nothing more than to tear her into pieces. The image on the recovery jade was very short. Qin Ji took out the next one and injected her xian qi into it. When the image appeared, everyone gasped. Because, First Madame Gongsun screamed and strangled the beautiful boy to death in her madness. Instantly, everyone felt their hair stand on end. This was the worst sin in the world. Chapter 634. Next, Qin Ji showed countless pieces of evidence, including the parents who killed the beautiful children. Including grooming the teenage boys and girls to commit all kinds of dirty deeds. In short, there was all kinds of evidence. Without a doubt, she had started collecting these pieces of evidence a long time ago, and not after Yang Dingtian came to her. It was obvious that Qin Ji had been ambitious about the 7 refined lane for a long time. This woman was really crazy. She was really scary. Looking at the countless images and pieces of evidence, everyone was shocked at first, but eventually, they became numb. Finally, most of the evidence was shown. In the end, Qin Ji let out a long sigh of relief and said, "There's only one left." Then, Qin Ji picked up the last image jade and inserted her celestial qi into it. Immediately, everyone saw an incomparably horrifying scene again. In the image, more than 10 women were killed at the same time. Fifth sister, after this, I won't mistreat you. First Madame Gong's son stabbed her sword into Qin Ji's chest. Qin Ji smiled and spat out a mouthful of blood. Then, First Madame Gong's son's face turned cold and she said, "Sisters, in order to get through this, I had no other choice. Don't blame me. In the future, I will kill Yang Dingtian and avenge you." After saying that, more than 10 women from the 7 refined lane were killed. Second Madame Gong's son was strangled to death by a man with silk. Seventh Madame Gong's son was pressed down by her head and smashed against the wall. Some women were drowned in the water. More than 10 beautiful women were killed in various ways. This scene was completely shocking to the eyes. Instantly, everyone looked at the 12 corpses in the middle. It was really tragic and cruel. The 7 refined lane carried 13 corpses to chase Yang Dingtian off the stage. Everyone thought that there might be some inside story, but no one dared to imagine that these women were killed by First Madame Gong's Sunday. This woman was truly ruthless. She actually killed all of her own people. The thousands of people present were actually ordered by the Vulture Palace to seek justice for the 7 refined lane. Now, it was a blatant slap to the face. Everyone's faces were filled with extreme uneasiness. Yang Dingtian turned to First Madame Gong's son and asked coldly, "Pavilion Master Gong's son, do you admit your guilt now?" "Qin Ji, I'm going to cut you into pieces. You're going to die a horrible death." First Madame Gong's son's face was twisted, and blood was dripping from the corner of her mouth. "Lingxi, what do you think?" Yang Dingtian looked at Lingxi and asked coldly. Lingxi's face was pale as she shuddered. "That's sensational. Sensational. I must have been blind. I never thought that the 7 refined lane would be so evil. I'm going to get rid of this evil for the people." With that, Lingxi charged forward, intending to kill First Madame Gong's son with a single palm strike. "Don't worry." Yang Dingtian grabbed his arm. Lingxi struggled and used up all of his celestial qi. He was in his 30s and was already a level 6 grandmaster. He thought that his cultivation was far superior to Yang Dingtian's. However, he suddenly realized that after his arm was grabbed by Yang Dingtian, he couldn't move at all. Immediately, he was shocked. First Madame Gong's son has committed a heinous crime. After she is captured, she will be publicly executed by the Council of Light. Yang Dingtian said calmly, "It's too early for you to kill her now. Kill her to silence her." Qin Ji said, "Look carefully. Who's that man who strangled Second Madame Gong's son? He looks so familiar." Lingxi said angrily, "Qin Ji, don't you dare accuse me. Actually, I have another reflection jade here. It won't show her back, but her face." Qin Ji said. Lingxi's expression changed immediately. Qin Ji continued, "After First Madame Gong's son was captured, her mouth was probably as loose as her pants. She'll probably spill everything." Lingxi's expression changed again. Finally, Yang Dingtian got up slowly and looked at everyone present. "I know that all of you are close to the Vulture Palace." Yang Dingtian said slowly, "Today, you're all here to rebel against me." As soon as these words were spoken, everyone's expression changed. Their faces turned pale. "No, no. We support faction leader Yang. We would never dare to rebel." Immediately, some people started to defend themselves. "Of course, I know that many of you just want to sit on the fence." Yang Dingtian sneered. "So, you can say that you were coerced into coming here." Yes, we were forced." Someone quickly shouted. They were really afraid of Yang Dingtian. Although this person was honorable, he was not soft-hearted at all when it came to exterminating an entire family. Until now, at least 1 million people had died in his hands, if not 2 million. Now that Yang Dingtian had the upper hand, exterminating them would be as easy as blowing off dust. Now, First Madame Gong's son has been captured. Yang Dingtian said calmly, "Qin Ji is right. Her mouth is probably as loose as her pants. How you want to escape is up to you. Even Lingxi's expression turned cold when she heard that. Yang Dingtian was so calculative. He did not only want to target the 7 refined lane. He did not only want to wipe the 7 refined lane off the face of the earth. He also wanted to use the 7 refined lane to play a big game of chess and start the reorganization of Central Continent. However, they were meat on someone's chopping block. There was nothing they could do. Men, Yang Dingtian said sternly. Yes. Zhu Hongxue and Qin Huayu stepped forward. Lead 200 martial artist groups, 2,000 Devil Dragon Army, 1,000 Devil Vulture Army, and 30,000 Shadow Knights. Seal up the 7 refined lane completely and arrest everyone in the 7 refined lane. Uproot all the organizations of the 7 refined lane in the chaotic world. Yang Dingtian looked at 6th Madame Gong's son, Ling Wu, and said word by word, the 7 refined lane is guilty of heinous crimes. From today onwards, this organization will cease to exist in this world. Yes. Zhu Hongxue and Qin Huayu shouted. Then, they immediately walked out of the main hall and led the army to exterminate the 7 refined lane. Pavilion Master Duan Ruyan, Your Excellency Yun Kailin, Yang Dingtian said. Here. 2 9th-level Grandmasters stepped forward. The 2 of you, arrest 1st Madame Gong's son and 6th Madame Gong's son, Ling Wu. Bring them to the dungeon and watch over them personally. Interrogate them and decide on a date to announce the verdict, Yang Dingtian said. Yes. Duan Ruyan and Yun Kailin stepped forward and dragged 1st Madame Gong's son away like a dead dog. As for Ling Wu, she was motionless as if she had been struck by lightning. There was no expression on her beautiful face. Today's incident had completely and temporarily destroyed everything she knew in her mind. Yang Dingtian's voice that day kept echoing in her mind. I want to completely erase the 7 refined lane from this world. At that time, she felt that it was ridiculous. The 7 refined lane controlled public opinion and had such a complicated relationship with the forces of the entire world. Moreover, they had the direct support of the Vulture Palace and Wu Yuming. How could Yang Dingtian touch them? Who would have known that in less than 2 months, the 7 refined lane would fall from the clouds to hell? Then, today, the 7 refined lane would really be completely uprooted from this world and completely erased. They would become a synonym for absolute filth and disgrace. As for her, Ling Wu, she would also be nailed on the pillar of shame in history. All the women of the 7 refined lane would become synonyms for sex. Qin Ji did not care about reputation, but Ling Wu did. Yun Kailin directly grabbed Ling Wu's neck and dragged her outside. Ling Shi could only watch as 1st Madame Gong's son and Ling Wu were taken away. Then, she smiled at Yang Dingtian with an incomparably ugly expression and said, Your Excellency Yang Dingtian, it's really sad that something like this has happened. Since there's nothing else, I'll take my leave. After she finished speaking, Ling Shi turned around and was about to leave. She wanted to use the fastest time to go to the Vulture Palace to report to Wolingzi and salvage the situation. No, young Master Ling Shi, don't be in a hurry to leave. Yang Dingtian said indifferently. Ling Shi's expression changed as she said, What do you mean? You're deeply involved in this matter. You can't leave before you're cleared of suspicion. Yang Dingtian said indifferently, Stay and accept the investigation. You can only leave after you prove your innocence. Ling Shi's expression turned cold as she said, Are you trying to capture me? How dare you? Do you know what I stand for? Isn't it just the Vulture Palace? Yang Dingtian said indifferently. Then can you bear the consequences of capturing me? Ling Shi said coldly. Since I dare to capture you, I can bear the consequences, Yang Dingtian said indifferently. Ha ha ha. Ling Shi laughed loudly, then walked out with his head held high, saying loudly, I don't believe that there's still someone in this world who dares to capture me. Want to capture me? Come on. Finished talking, he walked out arrogantly as if there was no one around. Sect Master Zhua, do it and capture him, Yang Dingtian said. Yes. Zhua Qingqi was expressionless. He suddenly went forward, grabbed Ling Shi's arm, and said, Young Master Ling Shi, investigate clearly before you leave. Ling Shi's face turned cold as she said, Zhua Qingqi, do you want to die? Zhua Qingqi smiled faintly and said, I've never been afraid of death. If you want to threaten me, your grandfather might have the qualifications to say it. For a trash like you to say such words, you're talking big. Ling Shi pulled out his sword and said, Yang Dingtian, do you know the consequences of me drawing my sword? I know, but it's definitely not as serious as you think. You're also not as important as you think. Yang Dingtian said, if you dare to draw your sword, I'll kill you today. Ha ha ha, you dare to kill me? That's the biggest joke in the world. Ling Shi laughed. Someone like you dares to kill me? Junior Master Yun, slap him, Yang Dingtian said. Yun Kailin was overjoyed. She hated Ling Shi to the core. After hearing Yang Dingtian's order, she went forward like lightning and slapped him. Slap. In front of everyone, the so-called young master of Vulture Palace, Ling Shi, was slapped in the face. He wanted to resist, but Grandmaster Zhua Qingqi held him down so tightly that he could not move at all. He, who had never been humiliated in his life, immediately opened his eyes wide and roared, Yun Kailin, I will definitely exterminate your Sky Cloud Pavilion. I will exterminate your entire sect. Slap. 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 Yun Kailin slapped Ling Shi's face until it looked like a pig's head. Then, Yang Dingtian said, Sect Master Zhua, let go of Ling Shi. If he dares to draw his sword an inch, kill him. Then, he stared at Ling Shi and said, draw your sword. I'll kill you, and you'll get what you want. Chapter 635. Yang Dingtian's gaze was not ferocious at all. However, Ling Shi's heart skipped a beat. He had always been arrogant, so he could not wait to draw his sword and start a massacre. However, he did not dare to do so. What if Yang Dingtian really gave the order to kill? If that was the case, he would definitely die. Yang Dingtian, you will definitely regret what you did today, Ling Shi said coldly, then angrily put his sword back into its scabbard. Then, the arrogant young master of Vulture Palace, Ling Shi, had his celestial qi locked and was taken away. At this moment, Qin Ji suddenly shouted, oh right, don't forget. Vulture knows about my complicated and ambiguous relationship with Yang Dingtian. Why didn't she tell Wu Yuming? After hearing Qin Ji's words, Ling Shi's expression changed. This woman was really vicious. She was trying to drive a wedge between them so openly. At the same time, Qin Huaiyu and Zhu Hongxue led tens of thousands of people into the 7 refined lane and arrested everyone inside. There was some resistance throughout the process, but they were all killed by Zhu Hongxue and Qin Huaiyu. After a short 2 hours, the thousands of people in the 7 refined lanes headquarters were all arrested. Then, the Council of Light mobilized hundreds of thousands of people to sweep through the hundreds of halls and brothels of the 7 refined lane in the chaotic world. They also took over the orphanage of the 7 refined lane and turned it into a real orphanage instead of a place of crime where children were abducted and sold. For a moment, the entire chaotic world was in a state of panic. Everyone kept quiet, afraid that they would be involved in the 7 refined lanes crimes. In a short 3 days, the hundreds of secret halls and hundreds of thousands of people of the 7 refined lane were all arrested. The 7 refined lane that had been passed down for hundreds of years and controlled the world's public opinion for hundreds of years, the 7 refined lane that was regarded as heaven on earth by all men, was completely uprooted and erased from this world. However, this storm was far from over. This was because first Madame Gongsuan's mouth was as loose as her pants. Names kept coming out of her mouth. Therefore, Zhu Hongxue and Qin Huaiyu often led the Black Knights to the 7 refined lane to arrest people. More than 30 leaders of forces had already been arrested and became the 7 refined lane's accomplices. Of course, this was definitely not an unjust accusation. These forces were indeed deeply involved in evil. One of them was even a member of the 27 sects. The 7 refined lane had conflicts with too many forces in the world. Immediately, all the forces in the central continent who were close to the 7 refined lane, especially those who were close to the Vulture Palace, were in a state of panic. As for the Council of Light, they took the opportunity to push forward the rectification work. Several pavilion masters and sect masters went to the various sects to negotiate the division of defense zones and the reorganization of the army. Because the 7 refined lane's sword of Damos was hanging over their heads, the negotiations were conducted very quickly. In the past 3 months, there was almost no progress in the reorganization of Zhongzhou State. The division of defense zones and the establishment of the Council of Light Corps were 2 key issues that were completely rejected by the entire Zhongzhou State. Now, the 7 refined lane case was progressing at lightning speed. There were more than 30 large forces in the central continent. In just a few days, more than 25 families had signed the agreement. And the preparation of the Council of Light Corps of Zhongzhou State immediately entered the substantive stage. It could be said that with the help of the 7 refined lane case, the reorganization of Zhongzhou State immediately tore open a huge gap. However, there were still 5 forces in Zhongzhou State that did not relent and did not sign the agreement, not to mention the establishment of the Council of Light Corps. The first was, of course, the Vulture Palace, which had changed its name to the Vulture Sect. The second was the Imperial Mausoleum, which was also part of the 9 sects. The remaining 3 were all members of the 27 sects. Without a doubt, these 5 forces all followed the lead of the Vulture Palace and would definitely not compromise. And if these 5 forces did not sign the agreement in the end, then the results of the previous agreements would be wasted. Is there any reaction from the Vulture Palace and Wu Yuming? Yang Dingtian asked. No. Qin Wanqiu said, no one from the southern barbarian continent flew out. It's as if they don't know that Lingxi has been captured and the 7 refined lane has been destroyed. Is there any leeway for the Imperial Mausoleum? Yang Dingtian asked. Impossible. Zhuo Qingqi said, these people who live in the underground mausoleum are natural allies with the spiritualists. When sect leader Zhu mobilized all of Zhongzhou's forces to attack West Continent, the Imperial Mausoleum closed its doors and ignored him. And sect leader Zhu could do nothing about it. The Imperial Mausoleum. This force was located between the southern barbarian continent and southern Zhongzhou. It was an island that spanned a few hundred miles. This island was like a giant mausoleum left behind from the ancient times. It was occupied a few hundred years ago and passed down from generation to generation until now. In terms of mystery, the Imperial Mausoleum was almost as mysterious as the Vulture Palace. However, it was relatively close to Zhongzhou State and would send people to participate in every Taekwondo League event, so it had more or less a sense of existence. But the outside world had no idea about its power. Even the cultivation of the master of the Imperial Mausoleum, Dishi Bian, was unknown to the outside world. In short, this giant mausoleum left behind from the ancient times was similar to a secret realm. So the disciples of the Imperial Mausoleum could cultivate at lightning speed. Of course, they had a huge weakness, which was that they could only fight at night and were afraid of sunlight. Also, the entire Imperial Mausoleum was filled with Yin-type experts. We can't go on like this. If we take it off for too long, it won't be beneficial. Yang Dingtian said, the key is to let Wu Yuming and the Vulture Palace speak. But they're pretending not to know, Qin Wanqiu said. Then let's provoke them. Yang Dingtian said, immediately print tens of thousands of wanted posters and send them out. The target is Wu Yuming's concubine, third Lady Gongsun. Remember, use a sketch and make it look real. Yes. Yun Zhena said. Then spread the word. Lingxi's crimes are unforgivable and should be executed. Yang Dingtian said. Yes. Yun Junwoo recorded it down meticulously. Alright, that's all for now. Yang Dingtian said. Everyone retreated. Dongfang Minmi stayed behind. Little Tian, there are only 2 months left until the netherworld ghost flame blooms. Dongfang Minmi said. I know, Master. Yang Dingtian nodded. I have to tell you clearly about the netherworld ghost flame. Dongfang Minmi said, first, its special attribute. It's ranked 3rd in the world, even above your million spirit demonic flame and demonic spirit demonic flame, so it must be incomparably powerful. However, only Wolingzi knows about its attribute, but Wolingzi has never made a move after obtaining the netherworld ghost flame. So, no one knows how powerful the netherworld ghost flame is. Yes, I've heard about this. Yang Dingtian said. Second, where is the netherworld ghost flame? Dongfang Minmi said, everyone knows that it's in the netherworld ghost land. That's the ancient world's largest battlefield, with billions of deaths. So, it condensed the netherworld ghost flame. However, the entire netherworld ghost land is several thousand miles wide and the netherworld ghost flame is constantly moving. It's not like other profound flames that only bloom in one place. It can appear anywhere in the netherworld ghost land. Yang Dingtian said, moreover, Vulture is determined to obtain the netherworld ghost flame. So, Wolingzi might personally go. Third. Dongfang Minmi said, the profound flame will automatically choose its master. You once said that the million spirit demonic flame chose you because you have the 9 yang profound veins. However, the demonic spirit demonic flame rejected you because it was attracted by your darkness profound flame. Vulture's unique talent as a heaven spirit master is a huge attraction to the netherworld ghost flame. So, compared to her, you have no attraction at all. Fourth. Dongfang Minmi said, Little Tian, do you know? The world's top 3 heaven and earth profound flame, does it have a strange quirk? Yang Dingtian shook his head. Dongfang Minmi said, the 2nd-ranked void-rending flame and the 3rd-ranked netherworld ghost flame can only be swallowed by martial grandmasters. The 1st-ranked primal chaos spirit flame can only be swallowed by half-step martial saints. Yang Dingtian said in astonishment, Master, aren't these just rumors? They haven't been proven. The heaven and earth profound flame blooms once every 200 years, who knows so much? At that time, there was one person who competed with Wolingzi for the netherworld ghost flame. His witchcraft spirit talent was higher, his profound veins were higher grade, and he found the netherworld ghost flame first. However, the netherworld ghost flame didn't choose him, but chose Wolingzi who was even further away. Because the other person was young, he hadn't broken through to martial grandmaster yet. At that time, Wolingzi was already 45 years old and had already broken through to martial grandmaster. After that, although the other person was more talented, he died at the age of 83, while Wolingzi was already over 240 years old and was still alive. Yang Dingtian fell silent. Now it seemed that it was better to believe this rumor than not. Now Yang Dingtian was a 9-star 3rd-grade martial grandmaster. The distance to martial grandmaster could be said to be close, but it could also be said to be far. It could be said to be close, but it was only 7th grade. Normally, according to Yang Dingtian's cultivation speed, it would only take him 2 months. It could be said to be far, but breaking through to martial grandmaster. For a martial artist, it could be said to be the most important hurdle. Countless people, not to mention 1 or 2 months, even 1 or 2 years, couldn't break through this hurdle. For example, Yun Kailin, Kuei Si, and Song Xiao were forever stuck at this hurdle, unable to break through. Even top geniuses like Dongfang Minmi and Shiman Wuya needed at least a few years to break through from 9-star martial grandmaster to martial grandmaster. Originally, Yang Dingtian had planned to directly break through to martial grandmaster by devouring the netherworld ghost fire. Now it seemed that it was completely impossible. At this moment, Yun Junwoo's voice came from outside. Sect Master, First Madam Gongsun and Ling Wu request to see you at the same time. Yang Dingtian chose to see First Madam Gongsun. In the deep dungeon, First Madam Gongsun's entire body's Xian Qi was locked. When she saw Yang Dingtian, she immediately knelt down. She knelt in front of Yang Dingtian and said, First Madam Gongsun shouldn't have offended sect master Yang Dingtian. She deserves to die. Yang Dingtian was stunned and said, Why did you suddenly soften so quickly? First Madam Gongsun said, Because the Vulture Palace and Wu Yuming have already given up on me. How do you know? Yang Dingtian asked. If they wanted to save me, they would have already done so. First Madam Gongsun said, When Wu Yuming took the opportunity to leave and let Ling Shi stay, I already felt that he had given up on me. Now, I am even more certain. Then, First Madam Gongsun hugged Yang Dingtian's legs and said, Sect Master Yang, please save me. Please save me. I can help you. I can come forward and defame Wu Yuming. I can expose all the scandals of the Vulture Palace. I can be your slave or maid. I can do anything for you. But, you have already committed a heinous crime. Yang Dingtian said. You can find a substitute to kill me. Then, I will change my appearance and stay by your side. First Madam Gongsun said with a trembling voice. Yang Dingtian lowered his head and looked at First Madam Gongsun's beautiful face. Then, he said, I will consider it. Thank you, Sect Master. Thank you, Sect Master. First Madam Gongsun kissed Yang Dingtian's shoes with all her might. Yang Dingtian walked out of the dungeon. He said that he would consider it. In fact, he would definitely not consider it. First Madam Gongsun would definitely die. Because the crimes she had committed were unforgivable. Yun Zhenu followed him and said in a low voice, Sect Master, aren't you going to see Ling Wu? I dislike her. I don't want to see her. Yang Dingtian said. She said that she knows that she was wrong about some things. Yun Zhenu said, she asked someone to pass on this message. Yang Dingtian's eyebrows twitched. Next, Yang Dingtian went to see Ling Wu. Her face appeared even paler. It was a world of difference from the healthy wheat color from before. I don't know about the crimes of the 7 refined lane. This was the first sentence that Ling Wu said when she saw Yang Dingtian. If I knew, I would definitely not go in. This was the second sentence that Ling Wu said. Yang Dingtian said, What about Lingxi? Do you think he is innocent? I don't know. Perhaps he isn't innocent. Because the person who killed second Madam Gongsun does indeed look like him. Ling Wu said. What about Wu Yuming? Yang Dingtian said, Do you think he is innocent? Ling Wu's eyes flickered. She didn't respond for a moment. Then do you think that you are still righteous when you acted in thunder blood to smear my name? Yang Dingtian said. Ling Wu said, 1 is 1, 2 is 2. The dark crimes of the 7 refined lane have nothing to do with your ambition of being a dictator. In fact, I firmly believe that if the 7 refined lane is innocent, you will also completely destroy it. Because it offended you, because I am in the 7 refined lane. Yang Dingtian turned around and walked out. He didn't say another word. When Yang Dingtian spread 3rd Madam Gongsun's arrest warrant throughout the world, Wu Yuming finally reacted. He appeared in front of Yang Dingtian and said, Let's talk. Yang Dingtian said, Alright, let's talk. The negotiation between Yang Dingtian and Wu Yuming was very fast. In less than 15 minutes, the negotiation was completed. Lingxi was acquitted. First Madam Gongsun was executed in public. All the criminals related to the 7 refined lane were executed. 6th Madam Gongsun, Ling Wu, was an accomplice to the evildoer. However, considering that she didn't commit any direct crimes, she was released after 30 lashes. In exchange, the Vulture Palace agreed to let the Mausoleum of Emperors and the other forces sign the defensive zone agreement. There was also the agreement to establish the Council of Light Corps. In the direct battle between Yang Dingtian and Wu Yuming, he obtained an absolute victory for the first time. When Wu Yuming left, he said to Yang Dingtian, "Our next battle will be the Netherworld Ghost Flame. I will wait for you." After Wu Yuming left, Yang Dingtian received the Ning clan's messenger. Wu Maji was born. Chapter 636. Wu Maji had given birth. Yang Dingtian was immediately immersed in the good news. In the end, Vulture, who was outside, suddenly walked in. She stared at Yang Dingtian and said word by word, "Yang Dingtian, don't be complacent. It's still too early to talk about winning or losing." Then, she turned around and left. As a result, Yang Dingtian's mood was slightly spoiled. Wu Yuming went to meet Ling Wu personally. "I'm sorry." This was the first sentence he said when he saw Ling Wu. Ling Wu said, "Do you know about the sins of the 7 refined lane?" Wu Yuming shook his head and said, "I don't know. However, I know that the relationship between Lingxi and second Madame Gongsun isn't clean." Ling Wu said, "Then what about you?" "I have a clear conscience." Wu Yuming said. Ling Wu asked, "Then what's your objective?" "A new balance. To prevent the entire world from completely falling into Yang Dingtian's ambitions." Wu Yuming stared at Ling Wu and said word by word, "It's true that I don't want the world to be plunged into misery and suffering. It's true that I want to save the world." Ling Wu said, "Did you believe it when the newspapers wrote about the scandal of the 7 refined lane?" Wu Yuming said, "I believed it. Because since Yang Dingtian is confident, it must be true. Therefore, I left. Because I can't place righteousness before family. However, I also don't want to help the evildoer." Ling Wu said, "Then why are you here now?" Wu Yuming said, "I'm here to admit defeat to Yang Dingtian and beg for mercy." Admit defeat and beg for mercy? Ling Wu trembled. How proud was Wu Yuming? For him to admit defeat and beg for mercy was even more unbearable than death. Then, Ling Wu said in disbelief, "Why do you have to admit defeat and beg for mercy? First Madame Gongsun deserved to die. However, there are many women in the 7 refined lane who are innocent. I can't sit by and watch them get defiled and die. Of course, there's also you and Lingxi." Wu Yuming said, "Lingxi killed Gongsun Ernyang. It's almost unforgivable. But if you want to punish someone, it should be the ancestor, not Yang Dingtian." "Is he really the one who killed second sister?" Ling Wu asked. "Yes, I asked him. He killed them." Wu Yuming said, "I won't cover up for anyone who does something wrong. No one had done anything wrong, so they shouldn't even think about being tainted." "Ling Wu, why are you so weak and weak?" Ling Wu's beautiful face trembled. "Silly girl, did you do something wrong?" Wu Yuming said, "It was my idea for you to join the 7 refined lane. Did you enter to enjoy the glory and riches? No, you're just going to expose Yang Dingtian's true colors and attack his dictatorship. That's right, the 7 refined lane is so filthy and evil that it's beyond our imagination. But while the 7 refined lane is filthy, you're clean. Your third sister is also clean. If everyone in the 7 refined lane is filthy, then Yang Dingtian's wife, Dugu Fengwu, had once impersonated third Lady Gongsun. Could it be that she's filthy too?" Wu Yuming continued with a sigh, "Girl, you shouldn't be so sad and depressed. You should still be proud because you didn't do anything wrong. You're innocent." Immediately, the gaze in Ling Wu's eyes became more and more focused. "That's right, I'm innocent. I'm innocent. I can still be proud." Ling Wu straightened her back and raised her head immediately. Then, Ling Wu said, "Big brother Wu, how much did you pay to save us?" Wu Yoming's face twitched, "There wasn't much. I just cooperated with Yang Dingtian in seizing power in the central continent and made the 5 forces led by the Vulture Palace sign the Defensive Zone Agreement and the agreement to establish the Council of Light Corps. Ling Wu's heart trembled as tears streamed down her face. It's not worth it. You're not worth it. You should have let him kill me. Wu Yuming said, no, you're innocent. You're innocent. You're proud and pure. Your life shouldn't end like this. You'll be punished with 30 lashes. This is Yang Dingtian deliberately humiliating you. But when you're being punished, please raise your head. You have to straighten your back, hold your head high, and stick out your chest at all times. I will. Ling Wu said resolutely with tears in her eyes. Little Tian, did Wu Yuming compromise? Dongfang Minmi asked. Yes, he compromised. Yang Dingtian said, in fact, on the surface, his compromise seemed to be in exchange for Lingxi's life. But in fact, this was the price to pay for being implicated by the 7 refined lane. He clearly knew that the arrow had been shot and couldn't be retracted. The 4 forces led by the Mausoleum of Emperors didn't sign the reorganization agreement. We'll directly use military force to conquer them. At that time, the Vulture Palace would only have 2 choices. Start a war or sit back and watch. But they didn't want either of these 2 choices. Dongfang Minmi said, if the 4 forces of the Mausoleum of Emperors didn't compromise, what would you do? Conquer them with military force. Yang Dingtian said bluntly, we'll use all of our forces. Those who submit will prosper and those who oppose will perish. We'll directly eliminate them. Then what if the Vulture Palace joins the war? Dongfang Minmi asked. The Vulture Palace won't join the war. Purely in terms of military strength, the Vulture Palace and the Netherworld Sea won't be a match for our Council of Light, Yang Dingtian said. Then what if they use their martial strength? They have 2 demi-saints, Dongfang Minmi said. Then I can only go to the grasslands of Dongli to invite Queen Hai Xian, the Temple of Blood to invite father-in-law Du Gushao, and martial uncle Zhu Qingzhu, Yang Dingtian said. These 3 people might not be willing to directly face the strongest forces of the evil ways. But they might be willing to fight against the Vulture Palace and the Netherworld Sea. That's right. During negotiations, Wu Yuming was much more decisive than Yang Dingtian. But if they were caught in a dilemma, Yang Dingtian would definitely not compromise, even if it meant starting a war. And if they really started a war, Yang Dingtian would really invite Queen Hai Xian, Du Gushao, and Zhu Qingzhu, the 3 top experts. Although the chances of winning were still not high, they could deal a devastating blow to the Netherworld Sea and the Vulture Palace. In the end, he didn't expect that Wu Yuming would be so straightforward as to directly agree. Little Tian, this is the first time you've won an all-around victory against Wu Yuming, right? Dongfang Minmi said. Yes, Yang Dingtian said. Little Tian, in the previous battles between you and Wu Yuming, he hit your weak spot every time. He won every time, and you didn't have the slightest ability to fight back. But after the Tiando League conference, he lost his composure and lost again. Do you know why? Dongfang Minmi said. Yang Dingtian said, he cherishes his reputation too much. He uses his reputation as a weapon. As for me, I don't care about my reputation. Of course, the most important thing is that he had always been hiding behind the scenes to plot against me. Evil Ways and Zhu Qingzhu were the ones at the front. But now that these 2 people have been defeated, Wu Yuming has no choice but to jump onto the stage personally. It's much harder to be in front of the stage than behind the scenes. That's right. Hiding behind the scenes and plotting against others isn't considered a skill. If the formidable ones jump onto the stage and be watched by countless eyes, they will realize that it's not that easy to fight. Dongfang Minmi said, you're standing on the ground, while Wu Yuming is floating high in the air. It used to be an advantage. But now, it has become his biggest restriction. Soon, the five forces, led by the Vulture Palace, signed the Defensive Zone Agreement and the Establishment Agreement of the Council of Light Corps respectively. The most important step in the reorganization of the central continent had finally been taken. Immediately after, in front of everyone, hundreds of people from the Seven Refined Lane were beheaded in front of everyone with irrefutable evidence of their crimes. And Ling Wu was the one who was lightly punished. She was whipped in front of everyone. The sharp whip viciously lashed at her delicate body. Ling Wu gritted her teeth and bled. She stared fixedly at Yang Dingtian's position. The flames in her eyes grew fiercer and fiercer. From the beginning to the end, she didn't let out a single scream. In the end, when she was badly mutilated and fainted, her mouth was already full of blood. Then, she was carried down by the vulture and taken away directly. The vulture personally applied medicine on Ling Wu's wounds and served her personally. As for Wu Yuming, she stood motionless in the study room. This was the second time. The second time, Yang Dingtian gave him a great humiliation. The first time, it was merely a humiliation on the surface of his face. And the second time, it was a pain that penetrated to the bone. The reason why he only appeared after so many days was because he went to the Sea of the Netherworld once again. He wasn't willing to compromise with Yang Dingtian. He was prepared to use force to coerce him. If there was really no other choice, he would start a war directly. However, his mother refused. Immediately after, Wulingzi also refused. Therefore, he had no choice but to grit his teeth and swallow his blood. He then looked for Yang Dingtian and made a compromise. Wulingzi had said that he shouldn't fuss over a momentary loss. The key was the duel a few months later. At that time, it would truly be the winner taking all. Yang Dingtian, just you wait. On the day of the duel, I will return today's humiliation tenfold, 100-fold. Wu Yuming said word by word from the bottom of her throat. At this moment, Vulture was comforting Ling Wu as he spoke words of resentment. Hearing Vulture's voice, Wu Yuming frowned tightly and revealed an angry expression. Qin Ji's words had already reached his ears. Vulture had long known about the ambiguous relationship between Qin Ji and Yang Dingtian. However, he didn't tell Wu Yuming. If he had told her, the Seven Refined Lane wouldn't have lost this duel. At least, they wouldn't have lost so miserably. Therefore, the reason why Wu Yuming lost this time was largely because of his wife, Vulture. However, Wu Yuming didn't say a word. He buried everything in his heart. Right at this moment, a voice suddenly sounded from outside. Reporting to young lord, Qin Ji has come to visit. Wu Yuming's face twitched. Qin Ji was practically the main culprit for his failure this time. Taking a deep breath, Wu Yuming said gently, "Let her in." Qin Ji was meticulous and charming as she bowed towards Wu Yuming. "I'm Qin Ji. Greetings to young Lord Wu Yuming." Wu Yuming smiled. "Greetings, Miss Qin. Do you have any instructions for me?" "I, Qin Ji, am the main culprit for the Seven Refined Lane incident this time. Young Lord Wu, you won't hate me, right?" Qin Ji asked. "Of course not." Wu Yuming said, "Miss Qin is a spy in the dark. You've worked hard to expose the truth about the Seven Refined Lane. I can't thank you enough." "That's good." Qin Ji smiled. "I also admire young Lord Wu's magnanimity." "Oh right, actually, your wife, Miss Vulture, knows about the complicated and ambiguous relationship between Yang Dingtian and I, didn't he tell you?" Qin Ji was here to slap his face in public. Wu Yuming's face twitched. Vulture is a simple-minded person. It's normal that he didn't see through your complicated relationship. "So he didn't tell her?" Qin Ji asked. "Yes," Wu Yuming said. "Then maybe I know the reason." Qin Ji said, "Actually, it's because I have something on her, so she's always been afraid to face me." "Oh, is that so?" Wu Yuming said casually, "I don't care about something on her. If Miss Qin Ji doesn't have anything else to say, I'm going to rest. Your wife, Vulture, has been played by me before. We've slept together, Qin Ji said. Wu Yoming's gaze trembled. He smiled and said, Miss Qin Ji, you're joking. Besides, even if it's true, it's normal for girls to talk in bed. You know that what I said has a deeper meaning. Qin Ji said, that's not all. The real thing that I have on her is that she has been intimate with Yang Dingtian. Maybe it's because of curiosity, or maybe it's because of other reasons. She took advantage of Yang Dingtian's coma in the secret territory and did a lot of private things that you can't imagine. Suddenly, Wu Yoming's face turned cold. The muscles on his face trembled. Okay, Miss Qin Ji, I don't want to listen to you anymore. Please leave. You don't want to listen to me about the shameless things that she did? Then I'll take my leave. Qin Ji smiled and left. Yang Dingtian, I just told Wu Yuming that Qin Ji secretly did a lot of unspeakable private things to you when you were unconscious. Qin Ji's first sentence when she saw Yang Dingtian made Yang Dingtian jump. What did she do? Yang Dingtian asked in horror. What else could it be? Qin Ji glanced at Yang Dingtian's private part charmingly and stuck out her small tongue. Are you crazy? Do you want to die? Are you tired of living? Yang Dingtian grabbed her arm and said hoarsely, Madam, you're really tired of living. He. Qin Ji laughed and said, but it's really hard to keep this secret in my heart. If I say it, Wu Yuming will be so angry that he vomits blood. It's best if he falls out with Vulture. How interesting would that be? It's interesting, but it's also interesting that you're courting death like this. Yang Dingtian said angrily. I'm not afraid of death. Qin Ji said indifferently, if worst comes to worst, Wu Yuming can kill me. If not, I don't care if he kills me after I explode. Yang Dingtian was completely speechless. This perverted woman didn't even care about killing him after he explodes. What else could she care about? This crazy woman would do anything to make herself happy. Then Yang Dingtian thought of something and said, Then what you said to Wu Yuming, is it true? Vulture had an affair with you? Qin Ji said, it's half true and half false. It's enough as long as it can anger Wu Yuming to death. This person is so suspicious, he will definitely believe it. If I tell you that Shimin Yan has been touched by another man, will you believe it? Yang Dingtian hit Qin Ji's head hard and said, don't taint Yan, but I don't believe it. Yes, then it's settled. Qin Ji said, rumors don't stop with a wise man. It's he who is willing to believe it. However, at that time, Shimin Yan was really almost touched by that bastard. She was tied up and couldn't move. Unfortunately, Shimin Ju stopped him. It's really a pity. The bastard in Qin Ji's mouth was naturally Qin Xiaobai, which was the original him. Yang Dingtian was so angered by this woman that his mouth was dry. He walked to his seat and sat down. He poured himself a cup of tea and drank it in one gulp. Qin Ji leisurely walked over and was about to sit on Yang Dingtian's lap. He jumped in fright and quickly moved away, saying, if you have something to say, say it. Don't scare me. Master, you said that as long as I help you, you will give the 7 refined lane to me. Qin Ji used a frivolous tone and said sweetly. Don't imitate the words of a brothel lady. Yang Dingtian said. Sigh, actually, I'm really conflicted. Qin Ji sighed and said, on one hand, I'm really curious about the lives of those women who sell their bodies. I really want to try it. On the other hand, I want to preserve my chastity for someone. Yang Dingtian almost spat out a mouthful of blood. No one had ever said that it was interesting to receive customers as a prostitute. This crazy woman in front of him was definitely an accident. Alright, let's not stray from the topic. Do you keep your promise to me? Qin Ji asked. Yes. Yang Dingtian said solemnly, there are still many innocent women in the 7 refined lane. Most of them are orphans. Once the 7 refined lane falls, they have nowhere else to go. I can hand these women over to you. Then, you can become a pure artistic and performing group. You can truly realize your artistic strength and turn these women into a group of noble and beautiful people. You're so nice. Qin Ji said. Then, should we let them receive customers? Yang Dingtian couldn't take it anymore. He hit her head hard again and said, receive customers, receive customers. You only know how to receive customers. You have to make sure they are clean. If they are willing to marry, you have to let them marry off with their chastity. All right then. Qin Ji used her strength to block the head that Yang Dingtian hit and said, then we have to change the name. What should we call it? Jade Cattail Lane. Cha House. Houting Court. Yang Dingtian couldn't take it anymore and left. Talking to this crazy woman would definitely shorten his life. The reorganization of the central continent had officially begun. As for Yang Dingtian, he first went south to see Wu Maji and his precious twins. Then, he immediately set off for the Ghost Netherland. He wanted to break through to the Great Grandmaster realm in less than 2 months. Then, he could compete with Wu Yuming of the Vulture sect for the Ghost Fire of the Netherworld. Wu Maji sent someone to inform him that she had given birth. Undoubtedly, she wanted him to see the children. This might be a small breakthrough for their relationship. Yang Dingtian rode the Demon Vulture King and went south directly. But he didn't expect that before he left, the Vulture actually sent an invitation to Yang Dingtian. Wu Lingzi invited him to the Vulture Palace. When he left the central continent, Yang Dingtian still hadn't decided whether to go to the Vulture Palace or not. When he passed over the Emperor's Mausoleum Island, a middle-aged woman who was so white that she didn't look human suddenly stopped Yang Dingtian. This woman should be from the Emperor's Mausoleum. As expected of someone who lived in the mausoleum for a long time. She looked more like a ghost than a human. Excuse me, are you Yang Dingtian? The woman asked. That's me. Yang Dingtian said. My master invites you to the Emperor's Mausoleum for a chat. The woman said. But I'm very busy. I don't have time. Yang Dingtian said. It's only a few hours. The woman said, it's about the ghost fire of the Netherworld. You're tuning in to the Blissful Bookshelf YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.